We're live. Okay, guys, got another debate for y'all today. We got Brian Shapiro, Jay Dyer, both have been on the show. Thanks for coming, guys, in person. Let's make this thing happen. So we're going to talk about Trump today, Iran, and Alex Jones. I know Brian wanted to talk about Alex Jones, but
absolutely.
You want to lead this thing off with Alex, Brian?
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for being here, man. Nice to meet you. I've seen some of your stuff on social media. I'll be honest with you. What we do is probably a little different, right? As we were talking off the air, you debate. You've been doing this for like, what, 25 years, right? Long time. I've been doing radio for almost that long, but my show is more of like the last 24 hours, talking about news of the day and that sort of stuff. But all right, let's start. I wanted to start off by asking you about something because I know you're friends with Alex Jones, right? And I know this is probably something where we'll get into it a little bit. But
bullshit. Bullshit.
Well, I come from Connecticut. I was raised in Connecticut, and obviously where the Sandy Hook shooting was. And I say to myself, and I've interviewed his ex-wife. That's kind of irrelevant to this conversation. And I've had private conversations with her, but I've also interviewed some of the parents who have lost their children, 8 and 9-year-olds that were decapitated. And Alex Jones made their pain worse. And I thought what he did was reprehensible. And then he used the excuse of psychosis, which I think is utter bullshit. He knew that shooting happened. He's not a stupid guy. And he only lied about it on the air with his huge platform and said that they were actors. You know what he said. And he only did that for clicks and money. And you're making the pain of parents, like I said, some of who I had to talk to and interview, and my heart goes out to them, and I'm sure yours does as well. And he called them actors, and he made their pain worse. And I find only a reprehensible, despicable human being would do what Alex Jones does. Now, he is a conspiracy theorist, and I understand he says a lot of batshit crazy stuff, but if you don't hurt somebody by doing that, then I don't have a problem with it. You could think 9/11 was an inside job, and you could, fine. If you're not hurting anybody, but he hurt those people who are already grieving the loss of their children. And I'm wondering how you could be friends with somebody who does that. I don't, it's unbelievable to me that he would even do something like that and then blame it on psychosis. Like, how could you square up and be friends with somebody like that? Because I don't know you. I've never hung out with you. I'm just asking, like, how can you be friends with somebody who did that? And are you willing to call that out?
Well, I think Alex himself has called that out. Alex has admitted that he made a huge mistake. I remember at the time when the trials were happening, one thing that I noticed in a lot of the examinations and the prosecution questioning was there seemed to be quite a bit of laxity when it came to vetting the guests, and that was hammered home with multiple people that produced the show. And the way that I'm sure the way that media works, especially for high-profile people, is that a lot of that is farmed out to people that work for you to vet the guests and whatnot. So I think there was some significant failures, mainly with vetting people like Wolfgang Halbig, people that ended up being, I think, probably con men. And Alex was lax in that. I think that was a huge mistake. I think that there is precedent not for what happened at Sandy Hook, but for the idea of government being involved in types of things like that, like the Operation Gladio, for example. That's a publicly declassified document.
I get that, but the government, as you know, wasn't involved in
just
the
saying,
Sandy Hook.
I said there's precedent for that.
Understand,
which is why Alex would have had in his mind legitimacy to question certain topics. So,
but why would you question that, though? Why would you question a school shooting hours after innocent children are killed?
Because if Operation Gladio includes public shootings at places like malls or perhaps even schools, there's no reason why you couldn't question.
But wouldn't
that.
you question it if there was some sort of evidence to prove, like the 2020 election? I mean, Trump still says it. I'm sure we can get into that, but it's like when, listen, if people have ideas or opinions, they're entitled to that. That's fine. But like I said, I'm not someone who's trying to censor free speech. But at the same time, when you say things that can hurt people, I know you're not a fan of Candace Owens. Neither am I. Okay. We both would agree on that. I'm friends with Tim Pool. He said some things about her that I actually agree with. But to me, Alex Jones does what Candace Owens does, which is say things that you know are not true. You know are not true. Alex Jones knew that innocent children were murdered. He knew that those weren't actors. They're dead. And yet he went on the air and called them actors. Those family members, as you know, were threatened. They had threats to their life. He knew that those children were dead. He knew that those families were grieving. I have an issue, not necessarily with conspiracy theorists, but conspiracy theorists like Candace Owens and like Alex Jones that say things knowing they're not true and knowing that they will hurt people. Alex Jones' comments at times, not just the Sandy Hook shooting, hurt people. And I find that only a despicable human being would profit off of something like that. I'm glad that he has to pay out that money. Like I said, I've had private conversations with his ex-wife. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not true. That's why I'm not going to share the conversations I had with her.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know is I could never associate myself with somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who, it's good to have differences of opinions. We probably have a lot of different opinions on a lot. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes America great. But I think Alex Jones is a scumbag. And by the way, I met Alex Jones. He is a different person off the camera. He doesn't have, in my opinion, that persona or, hey, was that good? Was this good? I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's a good person. And I'm not saying guilty by association. I'm not trying to make that argument. But I just can't fathom or understand how anybody could hang out with a guy like that who literally made
that would be guilt by association.
Well, I'm just trying to understand how anybody, not just you, but anybody would be okay associating. And you host on that network. Like, I just don't understand.
Well, again, so that'd be like saying anybody involved in media who's involved with anybody that's made a mistake in media.
I don't think that's a mistake. You know what I think a mistake is, Jay?
Well, but how do you prove that it's not
a mistake? Is locking your keys in your car.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that after this shooting happened, where body bags were taken out of that school, that Alex Jones legitimately believed that those 8 and 9-year-olds were actors? That's bullshit. I don't believe that.
No, I think that Alex legitimately believed that there was a variety of options that you could have.
He called them actors, Jay.
No, I understand that, but that's after having people on who were not properly vetted, like Wolfgang Halbig.
He has a lot of people on InfoWars that have zero credibility.
I actually agree that everybody who does media, for the most part, I'm not talking about you, Sean, you. No, I'm just saying. Everybody in media has people on because it's media, right? Media is kind of like, it's about the numbers.
But it's our responsibility to push back at those people.
I agree that, and I think that my main criticism of Alex would have been, and still has been, there should have been a better vetting of the sources of these so-called events, because the main source at that time, because I was listening through that whole period, was Wolfgang Halbig, who said, I've worked in government, I worked in education, I was there, I know that this was a fraud, I went and investigated, and all that was not true. So he did not properly vet the source.
He blamed it on psychosis. There was no medical information to prove that.
Okay, that could be, you mean his?
Yeah,
that could have been.
He didn't provide any medical information that he had psychosis.
I mean, I don't know. Bullshit. I don't know Alex's legal teams,
well, he's lying
that they
gave. Psychosis. You know that. Come on.
Again, I don't know what the legal team advised him.
They
to say
didn't show. Well, the legal team, if they're going to say he suffered from psychosis, there would have to be some evidence to prove that, which clearly they didn't show. It wasn't psychosis, and I guess this is maybe where we disagree. People like Alex Jones and Candace Owens and many others, Laura Loomer, I could name you a lot. They say things knowing that it will hurt people, and they don't fucking care. They say things knowing that it'll hurt people, knowing that it's probably not true. By the way, I don't buy the fact that Alex didn't think it was a real shooting. He knew it was. Like I said, Alex is not a stupid guy. He knew that there were innocent young children that died, and he called them actors. Now, regardless of what other stuff might have been going on in his mind, he made a lot of money off that. Now, in the end, it's going to cost him money. I don't think we should be allowed to say things like that with no justification, and it hurts people. Those families had death threats. They had death threats, Jay, and they hadn't even buried their kids yet. 8 and 9-year-olds. Yeah. And as you can see, I get visibly angry talking about this guy because I think he's a horrible human being. And I think his entire network is a fucking joke. It's a bunch of tinfoil hat morons who spread conspiracy theories about COVID. They spread conspiracy theories about the deep state. They spread conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. And the guy who runs the whole thing spread conspiracy theories about a shooting where a bunch of 8 and 9-year-old kids were murdered, were kept. I don't even think the guy should be allowed to even have a show. That's my personal opinion.
Could you name another crazy tinfoil hat position that you think me or Alex or anybody has posited?
I can't speak to you because I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean this.
Well, you said the whole network is all crazy people.
Well, I mean the regulars. I would assume you're a guest on there a lot, and sometimes I'm talking about the regulars who do shows, 5 days a week. They spread conspiracy theories about me. Harrison talked about me, didn't even, and we talked about this off the air a couple minutes ago, didn't even know my position on vaccines. And I don't want to get too deep into the vaccine stuff because, some platforms don't allow it. Didn't even know my position on the vaccines and just assumed that I want everyone to get 10 boosters. They say things about people not doing their homework, not under even, and by the way, I said I would go on their show. I was talking to somebody from their network. I said, listen, I will go on that show and I will defend my positions. Harrison didn't want me on. I call that a coward. if you're willing to talk shit about somebody, which is fine, I'm a big boy, I can handle it. But then you don't want that person to come on. I invite anybody on my show. Nick Fuentes can do my show if he wants to. I think he's an awful human being. But I would have had O.J. Simpson do my show. It's not the criticism. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it. But I'm willing to have anybody on my show that I disagree with, even if they're despicable people. If Alex Jones wanted to do my show, I would probably be a little bit more heated with him than I am you, because I'm not blaming you for the stuff that Alex Jones said.
But what's another topic that you think Alex has spread?
COVID. I think he spread lies about the vaccines. He sells his stupid pills on his website to make money. That there's no evidence that any of those pills actually help you if you had COVID. I would talk about 9/11 a little bit more, because I know he's talked about 9/11 a lot.
What about 9/11?
Well, he thinks it was an inside job.
Right.
Right.
I do too.
Okay. Well, we can get into that. We can get into that.
So what's the crazy part, though? Where's the crazy part?
Talks about the deep state all the time with no evidence to back up his claims about the deep state. What is the deep state? Tell me.
It's the breakaway national security apparatus in the background that has a tremendous amount of influence installed at the time of World War II, particularly from people
right now,
in the Council on Foreign Relations. It's the same structure.
Okay,
CFR,
so right now, who is
Commission,
running the deep state?
CFR and Trilateral Commission have a huge amount of influence. This is a CFR historian's own background account. Burton Hirsch's, but this is what we're lecturing through on my channel right now. So, so that would be
I've heard
Grand
Alex
Corporation, military industrial complex. That's the deep state.
So I've heard Alex say that Barack Obama was really running the country when Joe Biden was president. There's no evidence to back that up.
Well, you meant the stay behind situation that Obama had set up in
But
DC.
he said the Obamas had gay relationships and that Barack Obama was gay. This is not a serious
guy.
guy.
You do talk radio. You make jokes. You do satire. Alex does satire all the time.
Okay. Well, when I hear Alex Jones say that he believed, first of all, I don't think that's funny. That's 10-year-old humor. I don't think there's anything funny in saying a president is gay. I don't think that. I mean, unless we're 10 years old.
Well, what about faking gay?
You think? You think? I mean, okay, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Well, you just laugh, so you do think it's funny.
Well, here's the problem, right? Alex Jones has a huge platform, and I think it's important for people to choose their words wisely, and to be responsible. We agree, I think, that Alex Jones should not have done what he did when it came to the Sandy Hook shooting. It hurt people. Now, if you make a joke that doesn't hurt somebody, okay, fine. If you have a conspiracy theory that doesn't necessarily hurt somebody, then that's one thing, right? But when you have the platform that Alex Jones has, and you say things that are unproven stuff that is just blatantly ridiculous, they said things about me that aren't true. I have a problem with that. And I don't think that network is a serious network. I don't think that is a serious news network. It's one thing if you give Kanye West a platform. Heck, I would interview Kanye West and ask him about his anti-Semitism. But Alex Jones, he was praising Adolf Hitler, and Alex Jones is sitting there with his thumb up his ass.
No,
I watched that whole interview.
He specifically disagreed with him and said that he didn't believe Hitler was a good guy. And the very next day, Richard Grove and I hosted that next day and talked about that we did not agree with the Hitlerian perspective.
Okay, it's one thing to say you don't agree with it, and I'm glad you did that. But if someone sitting next to me is praising Adolf Hitler, I would call them for what they are. You are an anti-Semite and you are a moron. If you praise a man who's responsible for murdering anybody, let alone millions of people, there's something wrong with you. And I would say that to Kanye. I wouldn't sit here and say, well, you know, Kanye, I really disagree with you on that. I saw that. I don't respect people who praise evil, murderous dictators. That's what Alex Jones did in that interview. Okay, he coddled Kanye.
Alex didn't praise Hitler.
Well, he praised Kanye West in some ways, and he was
for
very
the satire.
He coddled him. He coddled him. It was a fluffer interview, and I think we also have a responsibility to question people and to be tough on people that praise murderous dictators. Alex Jones did not do that. So on one side of the coin, Kanye West will sit there and praise Adolf Hitler, and he'll say, well, I disagree with that. But on the other side of the coin, he'll just bash Democrats and left-wingers and AOC and attack her for being a bartender. He's more tough on somebody like AOC than somebody like Kanye West, who praises Adolf Hitler and is a Jew hater. Make no mistake about it. Kanye is a Jew hater, anti-Semitic piece of scum. I don't care whether he's mentally ill or not. And these groypers that go around, I just think they're really bad people.
Right. But so a lot of this debate so far has been about the character of people. So, and I'm not,
well, you're friends
I'm not
with him.
believing that Okay, but I mean, you just said at the beginning that you weren't interested in guilt by association, but
Maybe
this seems to be your whole course.
I'm
which is
trying
guilt
to
by
understand
association.
why you would be friends with somebody like that who I think has no moral compass.
But what I'm illustrating is that nobody consistently can apply that in media, because I'm sure you have friends that you disagree with that you might find reprehensible, or that you've gone on shows that you disagree.
I don't have any.
So you don't have any.
I don't have any friends
no
that
moral
are
qualms with Piers Morgan. You go on Piers Morgan's show.
Yeah.
Has he done anything?
I don't hang out with Piers Morgan. He's not one of my friends. I do his show. There's a difference.
So
I don't have any
now
friends.
I don't have guilt by. So it is guilt by association.
Well, you're friends with him.
So
I'm not friends with.
So
Piers.
that is guilt by association, which you said you're not trying to do.
I'm trying to understand why you would be friends with somebody like that. So you are doing guilt by association. I'm asking you a question. Why?
Implying that it's morally wrong.
I'm trying to understand how morally you could associate yourself.
And I'm trying to understand the ethics
as a friend, not just for doing a show.
The morals are what? Like, what's the? Because I don't think it's consistently applied.
I think people that associate themselves with people like Alex Jones are the same people that associate themselves with Donald Trump. I think it's
so guilt by association.
I think it's same. Well, I think
this whole course has been guilt by association.
Well,
which you said at the beginning you're not going to do.
Well, what I was hoping to do is try to get an explanation from you on how you could be friends with somebody like that. I find that in general, and I'm going to make a general statement now, people that are big fans of Alex Jones or friends of Alex Jones tend to also be big fans of Donald Trump. And they're willing to push aside the Epstein stuff. They're willing to push aside his behaviors, the way he talks about women and Gold Star families and POWs, and the fact that he's named thousands of times in the Epstein files. I think the same kinds of people who support Donald Trump are gravitated towards Alex Jones. Yes, I'll say it again. I think Donald Trump and Alex Jones are similar. I think they're both horrible human beings. Yeah. They're horrible human beings who probably only care about themselves. And,
but again, I think this is what usually ends up being something not worth debating. I'm not saying you can't bring it up, you debate whatever you want, but the idea of only focusing on the morals of some individual in media or in politics, to me, just seems absurd. That's why I'm always an issues guy, because I'm sure that
we can talk about issues.
I'm sure that everybody has some moral flaw or some problem in their ethos.
I would never deny that. I would never deny what you're saying.
So then it's not consistently applied. So it would seem
there are different levels of mistakes that are made.
How do we know the levels here? Because it seems like you're doing the very thing that you're saying shouldn't be done.
No. So there are different levels of mistakes that are made, whether you cheat on your wife or.
Well, who determines that?
Okay. Well, I'm just giving you my opinions. There's no book on determining. I'm just telling you, simply put, if you're a person who intentionally lies about a school shooting when children are murdered to make money and clicks, you're a fucking disgusting human being.
But how do you know a person's motives? Maybe you do.
Because Alex Jones does it all the time. He says
how
things.
Do you know the motives?
He's over the top, and he says things.
But how do you know the motives?
So you think Alex Jones didn't have? What do you think his motive is when he says things like that?
I'm saying that when you debate, and again, you can debate whatever you want, but my critique of this type of debate is that when you debate people's motives is something that you can never really explicitly prove.
Why did you think Alex Jones, give me an educated guess, Jay, if you can, why do you think Alex Jones said those things?
I believe that Alex has always, for the most part, been sincere. That's why he has been willing to change his mind and admit he was wrong. For example, he recently admitted he was wrong, that he thought Trump might reverse the course on Iran.
Let's talk about that.
He admits that he was completely wrong.
I do want to talk to you about that.
Well,
we're probably going to agree on that.
That's a recent admission that Alex said, I was wrong about this.
Okay, good. So let me ask you something about that, because I disagree with you respectfully. If Alex Jones wasn't sued, do you think Alex Jones would have apologized?
Well, the lawsuit, as I said, highlighted the bad vetting. If you look, for example, at the prosecute where they were.
No, Jay, I understand.
Let me finish the question. Let me finish answering. When they were interrogating Owen Schroyer, and Owen was responsible for bringing on a couple people that not just Wolfgang, but also the Zero Hedge article that they highlighted that was misinformation. So that was not properly vetted. And I'm saying that if you've got a network that has multiple people doing multiple cogs of the operation, you can't. I understand that the head of the operation is going to receive the brunt of the criticism, but it's not like Alex was just doing all of this without sincere investigation. I believe he's sincere.
Okay. So I that's where we disagree. And I would go as far as to say this. I believe that if Alex Jones wasn't sued and he didn't have to face consequences for his things, he would never have apologized or retracted anything, because he never has in the past to my knowledge, for anything else. The reason why he apologized and says, I shouldn't have said that, which, by the way, he said in a courtroom, and then he said it was a kangaroo court, and he attacked the judge, and he attacked the prosecutors, instead of just being a man and saying, you know what, I really fucked up. I really shouldn't have said that stuff. What happened to those families was awful. Instead, he does what Donald Trump does. It's a kangaroo court. I didn't do anything wrong. So no, I disagree with you, Jay. I don't think Alex Jones would have ever retracted what he said, and I don't think Alex Jones would have ever apologized if, in fact, he was never facing a civil lawsuit, which he lost. That's my personal opinion.
This is
we can move on to Ron
because there's no way to prove that or know that.
Well, that's just my personal opinion. Right. Obviously, there's no way to 100% prove it other than the fact that, to my knowledge, I don't think Alex has ever apologized for anything else on the air in the past. The only thing I could ever recall that he's ever apologized for or retracted was the comments he made about the school shooting and those kids being actors.
Yeah, and he recently retracted his position on Iran. He thought Trump would have a better course and a course correction, and he was wrong about that. He was wrong about the thing that was going around where Pam Bondi was saying that they were going to release the files. He thought that was a legitimate. He has
been open about criticism for the Epstein files because he's been talking about the Epstein files for years. And I think Donald Trump has made a lot of people like the Alex Jones type look really bad because Donald Trump has protected pedophiles, in my opinion.
Well, Alex has called that out.
I know that. That's what I just said. Yeah, I'm happy. I agree with you on that.
So then that would refute your claim that he never says
he's angry. Well, he's upset at Donald Trump. It's not really that he was wrong about something. He's upset
wrong about what Pam Bondi said like 2 months ago.
He's criticized at times the Trump administration for the Epstein files.
He doesn't give the apology that you want, basically.
It's not really the apology that I want. It's basically, it wasn't really an apology. He just basically, when it comes to the Epstein stuff, he's talked about how disappointed he was. He was wrong about Pam Bondi. He was wrong about Pam Bondi, and he thought Pam Bondi.
No, he said specifically that the claim that they were going to release more of the files, that when Pam Bondi claimed this, he shared that. And then a bunch of people on social media called him out. He said, you know what, you're right. I was wrong. So I'm just saying he will admit.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he did that. I was unaware of that. And I'm glad he did that. And we could end the Alex Jones conversation, but in closing, I'll just say this. And you know, it's nothing that I've never said.
I have a closing statement too.
Yeah, I'll let it close.
That's fair. Of course. I think Alex Jones is what's horrible with society. I think there are grifters, the Candace Owens types. I put Alex Jones in that category. I think he only says things as an act to get clicks and to make money. What he did was disgusting. And why the reason why this topic is so, it should be personal to anybody, but it's even more personal to me because I grew up about 20 minutes away from Sandy Hook, number one. Number two, I've interviewed some of those families who have to wake up every day without seeing their kids. It's reprehensible. And the fact that somebody like Alex Jones, and this is irrefutable, made their grief even worse with what Alex Jones put those families through is reprehensible. And I think only a reprehensible and repugnant human being would do what Alex Jones did. I have zero respect for him. I don't care how many followers he has. I have no more respect for him than I do like a Candace Owens type. And I know we'll probably agree on Candace Owens. There is a way to have differences of opinions, and there is a way to have a conversation without hurting people. And there are too many people, particularly in right-wing media today, that do that. They make claims that hurt people. They lie. They attack undocumented immigrants and brown people every single day, making it seem like all these undocumented immigrants are going to rape your kids. They're wrong. They lied about the terrorist attack in New Orleans. They said it was undocumented immigrant. They said it was because of Joe Biden's open border policies. They lie. They lied in conspiracy theories about what happened to Paul Pelosi when Paul Pelosi was attacked with a hammer. And Alex Jones was one of those guys that spread the conspiracy theory that Paul Pelosi had some sort of gay relationship with the guy that almost killed him with a hammer. Did Alex Jones ever apologize for that when the police report came out? And Matt Gaetz, when he was in office, another repugnant piece of garbage, and Ted Cruz spread those conspiracy theories. These right-wingers don't apologize usually. I'm glad that Alex Jones has done that, but there's a lot of people on the right that don't. They don't retract. They don't apologize. When you get something wrong, why don't you wait until the information comes out first before you spread conspiracy theories? I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general terms, people on the right. And that's one of my biggest criticisms with the Laura Loomers of the world and so many others. It's all about clicks, Jay. It's about money and clicks. They don't care whether they get it right or not. I'm generalizing. There's a lot of people on the right on X. They want to be the first one to say it was an undocumented immigrant. It was a black person. It was this without knowing. And then when they get it wrong, they don't retract and they don't apologize. And I'm sorry if I'm going on a rant here, but on X, when you look at when they're fact checked, what is that called on the bottom?
Yeah, the fact checking.
Yeah.
community note?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the point of a community note? If somebody is getting a community note like 200 times, there are right wingers out there that have been community noted 200 times. They're not suspended. Their accounts don't get taken down. Why are we community noting people when they literally, it happens to them every day? So anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. Again, I think, you know, so much of media ends up being a lot of low tier slop and debating about things that are not really that substantial, such as people's motives or intentionality, which is, unless you have, you know, somebody's actual DMs or something like that, it's really difficult, I think, to know the motives. And so in philosophy and debate, we don't typically focus on that. Understand that in media and in news, it probably is the best, but I would assume that maybe you engage in debating about who's good and who's bad, because that's the easy low tier route to go to get attention and to get clicks. I mean, aren't you interested in getting clicks?
I don't think it's low tier to
debate, but it is to debate people's motives, because it's called ad hominem in philosophy, right?
I don't think it's low tier to talk about our president and his behavior.
Well, we're talking about Alex Jones,
right.
And you're saying his bad motives, and I'm saying that works in low tier political debate, but like if you get into a philosophical debate and you debate people's motives, that's called ad hominem, because unless you have proof that there's bad motives, you don't know people's motives other than to say that, well, he's a bad person. Okay. So he's a bad person. What does that prove?
I don't think it's low tier to criticize Alex Jones for what he did.
But you said that you know his motives, and I'm just trying to figure out how you know that.
Well, first of all, I think most people would say the reason why Alex Jones says these things is because he wants to make money and get more attention.
The fact that most people think that really has nothing to do with
it. That's I think I would like to think that a logical opinion would be that the reason why
if
Alex
you're gonna be
Jones,
logical, you can't do fallacies.
Okay, well, if you think that Alex Jones does this stuff,
I mean,
says
do you think appeal to masses is a fallacy?
No, but I would say I would say
you don't think it's a fallacy.
Perhaps, but the point that I was trying to get at is that just Alex Jones says these things. Not because he needs to get this off his chest or he wants to be an entertaining guy.
You're just saying what his motives are.
Okay. Well, what do you think his motives are? Then
again,
help me understand Alex Jones. You're friends with him.
I've listened to Alex since 2003.
Yeah.
And I've noticed him consistently over the years reference many texts that we lecture through on my channel. So it's become a mainstay of what I do is to kind of take all of those books that he references over the years to check to see if he's legit and if he's saying the right things. And most of what he says, I would say 90% of what Alex has said over the years has been accurate in terms of the big geopolitical perspective. There are minutiae areas where I would disagree, particularly with who he brought on during that time period of Sandy Hook that was not properly vetted. But when it comes to the big geopolitical stuff, most of the time I disagree. But there's been areas where I disagree with Alex over Trump. So I don't have a problem disagreeing with Alex, but I don't think that Alex is ultimately overall a bad person. I've met him, known him, personally for many years. So
okay. I mean, I base that on some other things that I'm not going to talk about here on the show, but people that have known him very closer than you even. But we can leave it at that. I know this entire debate isn't.
Yeah, let's move on.
You didn't want to talk about it. But if you want to talk about Iran, I'm happy.
Let's dive into Iran.
Yeah,
even though you both agree, maybe there's some slight.
I won't be taking Alex Jones out to dinner tonight. I guess that's what I was trying to say. Go ahead, Sean.
Jay, you want to start off with Iran and how you feel about the U.S. getting involved? How you feel like Trump's done with that relationship?
Yeah, so this is an issue that I've dealt with for many years. I've had a lot of debates publicly with Muslims for about 8 years straight. We've debated most of the top Muslims. I think maybe Junior is a future Muslim debate that we're going to do. So I'm very familiar with like the background of Sunni versus Shia Islam. I'm decently educated on the history of Iran, and I think the big issue with Iran is that this is really just a repeat of 1953 with the CIA coup, where they took out Mossadegh to put the Shah in. Then you had the Shah failing, and you had Ayatollah Khashoggi being brought in with British intelligence and CIA assistance, all ultimately for Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which would become BP. So I think that from the very beginning, this was a destabilization, a regime change that was brought about for the purpose of a big corporate interest in Iran. I think it's really not that different today. If we fast forward to where we are now, it's a lot of repeat of what we saw with Iraq, which was, false intel, weapons of mass destruction, which was not true. Saddam was brought into power by the CIA, trained by the CIA. He's given weapons of mass destruction originally by the CIA to fight the Iran-Iraq war. And then when we decided that he had spoiled milk, then we didn't need Saddam anymore. And I've never been pro-war all the way back to 9/11. I've been anti-war pretty much because I think most of the wars are fought for interests not in the best purview of the American people. They're fought for corporate and banking interests for the most part. I'm not a pacifist. I believe in self-defense. But so the same situation with Iran, I think that we've seen the administration all the way back to Obama with the Green Revolution. They were pushing for a kind of a more democratic NED style color revolution back in 2009, 10, 11. But now what we have is a situation where Trump has just greenlit under, I think, probably influence from Bibi Netanyahu
Yes.
to go for a full on just, taking them out. And go back 30 years. They were playing the clips yesterday on Hodge Twins where Bibi was like saying, they're 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. And then like every few years, it's the same 2 weeks. And it's like,
Yeah.
So it's like 2 weeks to flatten the Iran was my joke on Twitter. Not making jokes about, but I mean, the same situation where, it's 2 weeks flatten the curve, but then it's going to turn into protracted war. This is different than Syria. Syria, it took 15 years to take down Assad, to install by CIA and Western support a very radical Sunni regime under Giuliani. That's something that was mentioned in the clean break memo. It's something that goes back to Oded Yunan's strategy. So I think that all of those are a disaster for the West and for America. They basically only benefit the Greater Israel Project, and I disagree with all that.
It pains me to say I agree with a lot of what you just said. Not much of a debate there, but I will say this. When Donald Trump was running for office again, he said he was going to be the peace president.
The peace candidate.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never have war again. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
Probably the best.
That's true. He said that. And he said he's going to be a new regime president and all that. Tulsi Gabbard testified 10 months ago under oath that there was no reason to believe, based on our own intelligence, that they were furthering their nuclear capabilities.
Correct.
We were told 8 months ago, obliterated, I believe is the word. Obliterated. I'm sorry. Obliterated. I always get that mixed up. Obliterated their nuclear capabilities. Then we heard it was regime change. And then when they figured it out, well, wait, we're going to have boots on the ground if there's regime change. Then they said, well, these civilians need to rise up.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Then Marco Rubio, in some terminology, was blaming Israel. And I agree, by the way, with a lot of the stuff you said about Benjamin. I'm a Jewish guy. It's not anti-Semitic to be critical of the Israeli government. I've maintained that position. I am very anti-Israeli government. I am very pro-Israeli people. I think they're great people, but I'm anti-Benjamin Netanyahu, who plays Donald Trump like a fiddle. Then we were told by Marco Rubio that Israel, forced our hand. Then we have this school bombing. And Donald Trump, it was a Tomahawk missile. Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles. Everybody knows that. And he blames Iran. Does he even know that they don't have Tomahawk missiles? It's this guy is such a madman, and he's such an imbecile. And Pete Hegseth is. They don't take responsibility. We're told this is the party of protecting children. And now we're told, well, this was about the Marines and this was about attacking the ships. I agree with what you said about Iraq. That was an ill-advised war. Thousands of American soldiers died. Hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis died. Trillions of dollars that we're still paying off. How is this any different? Are you disappointed? You voted for Trump. I know you're not defending this war, which I appreciate. Are you disappointed in your vote? Kamala Harris would not have started. You could have your criticisms of Kamala, and that's fine. And we can get into that. I'm not saying she was perfect. She would not have started a war in Iran. I do not believe this war would have happened.
Well, it's similar to, a lot of what Obama campaigned upon. We saw Obama campaigning as a peace candidate back in the day. We saw him then reversing with the drone strikes that he was involved in. So I didn't have high hopes for politics to be anything other than what it usually is. I was involved in, promoting Ron Paul back in 2007 and 2008. Rand Paul campaign. And I saw back then the way that Ron Paul was sort of sidelined and kind of kept out of the political discourse. And so my vote for Trump was mainly based on a lot of the policies that he supported, which are kind of older 90s centrist Democrat type
America
policies.
First, though, right, Jay?
Sure.
You think some of these policies are America First?
No, I'm saying what he campaigned on.
Okay.
And
so he campaigns on a lot of things that he lies about. We're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
I'm saying that I disagree with the main areas that my main issues are that I can think of with Trump. I think Warp Speed was a huge failure. I think that was a mistake. I think he did that probably at the behest of a lot of pharmaceutical and corporate interests. That's my opinion on that. I think that it was a mistake to talk a lot about the Federal Reserve, but not really to go after the Federal Reserve. I think that's a huge problem for the country, for the economics, and then also to promote the war for Israel's benefit. Really, those are the main things off the top of my head that I can think of with Trump.
Those are big things.
Well, those are my main. Those are my main.
Those are pretty important things, don't you think?
I'm not a Trump apologist, but I'm an issues person. What I'm saying is that since 2007, I was really disaffected with mainline party politics.
What about rolling out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin in Alaska? What about no concessions? What about the fact that Russia is giving intel to Iran right now, and Trump, they just don't seem to want to talk about that. They've had pleasant conversations in the last week. Rolling out the red carpet, he blamed Vladimir Zelensky, called him a dictator, and he blamed Ukraine for the war. Let me tell you something. If Iran had invaded Israel, I might feel a little differently about this war.
Well, here's where we disagree, right? No, I would be anti-Ukraine for sure.
Who started the war in Ukraine?
NATO.
No, that's not true.
It is true.
Vladimir, who invaded?
All the way back to
2012,
Ukraine? NATO was provoking Russia, and they did not keep to the agreements during the Cold War about not expanding. NATO
Jay, who invaded Ukraine?
Again,
who started
NATO
the violence
provoked Russia to invade.
Okay, I didn't ask you who provoked. Who
Well,
invaded?
it matters.
Who invaded Ukraine?
Russia was provoked.
Who started the
by
violence?
Ukraine. Who put the biolabs all around Russia?
I could provoke somebody to murder.
Who put the biolabs?
Okay, but hold on.
Russia?
I could provoke somebody
This
to murder.
is geopolitics. It's false analogy.
Okay, I can provoke somebody to murder somebody, but I'm not asking you who provoked. I'm asking you who committed the
Who
crime.
put the biolabs all around Russia as a offensive provocation?
Nobody forced Vladimir Putin
It is
to
forced.
invade Ukraine.
It is a forcing.
I disagree with you.
Well, again, that Ukraine is actually historically Russia anyway. And it was only Ukraine after Lenin and after World War One.
Okay, so Jay,
So it's not even a real country.
Ukraine
it's a country
didn't start this war.
It's a country that was created by the West and by communists to sever that center of power
I understand.
from Russia.
I understand
So
what
that's
you're
the history.
I understand, but Ukraine did not start the war. They did not start
I disagree.
the war. Okay, well,
I think that NATO and the West provoked the war so that then they could say
so you think
that,
Zelensky is a dictator?
in many ways, he acts like a dictator with persecuting.
So
Orthodox. He
Zelensky's-
persecutes Orthodox Church and shuts it down. So, yeah,
So Zelensky started the war and he's a dictator. You agree with Donald
he
Trump?
didn't start the war.
Well, Donald
he
Trump
was-
said that. Was he lying?
He may be speaking about for political reasons. He didn't start the war. I think NATO started the war again.
Don't you think it's kind of important if you're the president of the United States to not lie
I don't have a
about?
problem criticizing Trump, but
Yeah,
I will defend the fact that I don't think
Right.
that Russia started the
Okay,
war.
well,
NATO provoked the war.
I can tell you this
Has
war.
NATO expanded since the Cold War?
Well, no, but I
Have
can
they?
tell you
Yes, they
that.
have.
Well, hold on a second. Let me just go back.
They've
to
been putting bases and biolabs. That came out.
Okay.
The Pentagon admitted yes, there's biolabs
Right.
in Ukraine.
But that still doesn't defend. It's not a defense for Vladimir
It's a
Putin invading
provocation.
Ukraine.
It's a provocation.
Okay, so do you
If
think
people,
we should?
if let's say people, if they started coming into your property and they were saying, "Oh, well, you don't have a right to, react because, we're not actually causing you to react. We're just coming on your property."
So do
then
you
you
think
would
it's
react.
appropriate for an evil, murderous dictator, which is who Vladimir Putin is? I would hope that we could at least, even though we disagree on this, you would agree with me that Vladimir Putin doesn't have a regard for human life. He kills journalists in his own country that disagree with him. If you talk about Vladimir Putin on the phone, there have been instances where you're massacred. He's an evil dictator. Can we at least agree on that?
All heads of state operate in a similar way. The U.S. assassinates people all the time. So
Can you tell me where the U.S.
let me finish
assassinated a
so a
journalist?
lot.
Okay.
Oh yeah, all the time. Udo Ulfkotte is the
Okay, I'm
famous,
unfamiliar with
famous
that.
journalist who was assassinated
Okay.
in Germany for
Which-
talking about the CIA infiltrating and using German media for Western purposes.
Okay.
And so whether or not Putin himself had the journalist assassinated, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised because a lot of journalists are actually also undercover as spies. So.
If anybody listened to my show for 30 seconds, if I was talking about Vladimir Putin that way in Russia, I would be murdered. In the United States of America, even though Donald Trump is trying to take away our First Amendment rights to criticize him, he does it all the time. He calls people like me vermin and the enemy within. We still have the right in this country to our First Amendment to criticize politicians and the president. In Russia, you will
that's
be murdered if you do that. That's what makes
No.
him a dictator. That's part of what makes him a dictator. And the point I was trying to make was that Donald Trump has, and I'm not saying you're a Trump apologist, but Donald Trump has rolled out the red carpet for an evil dictator on American soil.
Mhm.
To this day, no Russian sanctions. In fact, they've blamed Ukraine. Now, I know I guess we disagree on what's going on in Ukraine, but Donald Trump's foreign policy is a joke. The world is laughing at us right now when it comes to tariffs, the $175 billion that he stole from the American people. And now we were told we were going to get tariff checks. And now it's turned into, well, you can sue us if you'd like to. I can go policy by policy with you. ICE, I agree that, because I'm sure this is a topic that you talk about a lot, which is immigration. I am pro border security. I want people to come to this country legally. However, I don't want people that have been in this country for decades, that pay taxes, that have families here, sent to an El Salvador prison. That's happened. Not
Mhm.
everybody was nonviolent, but the majority of those people, I think it was over 60% of the people that they sent to an El Salvador prison were nonviolent criminals. I don't want people murdered in the streets. What happened in Minneapolis is a travesty. What happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy is repugnant. It's terrible. And then you had Kristi Noem, who is no longer there now, who called them domestic terrorists hours after these shootings without a full investigation. And by the way, the evidence proves it. That's why they took that Bovino asshole out of Minneapolis and they, took out 2,000 or 3,000 troops. Listen, violent criminals, 90% of the country, Democrats and Republicans agree. If you're a violent criminal and you're undocumented, deported. Absolutely, I'm on board with that. But I have a serious problem with a party that says, come on into our country. Just do it the right way. Do it legally. We don't care what the color of your skin is. Which is the party that has made it more difficult for people to become legal citizens? In some cases, it takes 10 or 15 years for people to be naturalized. The Democrat Party has tried to come up with a way to make it easier for people to get a pathway to citizenship. And meanwhile, Republicans make it more difficult. Let's make it easier for people. I want them to be vetted, but let's make it a little bit easier for people to become citizens, and let's give them some more incentives. And if you happen to be undocumented and you're non-violent criminal, which I think is important, then you have to pay a penalty, but let's come up with something that works for the American people. I don't think separating families and murdering people on the streets is good policy, and that's what the Trump administration has done.
I would actually just say we don't need immigration really at all. I think we have enough human resource and capital here in the West, in America, that we don't actually need the replacement of the indigenous people. And that's kind of a war crime in my view. This is a known strategy. You can read Kelly Greenhill's book. She's she writes for Cornell University, I think, Weapons of Mass Migration. So this is a known geopolitical strategy technique to change the people groups. Specifically with Europe, you have the Kalergi plan. I read Kudnov-Kalergi. It's real. His book, Practical Idealism, discusses this explicitly. That plan was adopted by the Royal Society to change the demographics of the European Union. And then we have the same situation, I think, in America, where you have the flooding of the country with all kinds of third world people to change the demographics, not just for political reasons, but I think ultimately for long-term socialist international reasons.
So we can give a history lesson on immigration and we can talk about the past. But what I'm talking about right now is the future and where this country is at right now. Will you agree with me that the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy were horrible? They weren't handled properly. And we had a woman in Chicago who was shot 5 times, almost died. And everybody in ICE, including Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, everybody based on text messages were praising this guy for shooting this woman 5 times. They claimed that Miss Martinez was impeding an investigation. And then all of a sudden, when the body camera footage came out, it said the total opposite, and they retracted the charges. Did anybody apologize? No. Are those officers still out there? Yes. That's wrong. Can we agree that that's wrong?
I mean, and I don't doubt that in some of these situations you have absolutely horrible mistakes like that. I would probably agree with that. And I don't know the specifics of those cases because I'm more focused on the bigger geopolitical.
But you watched.
But you're saying that, right? You're saying, oh, we don't need a history lesson. I actually do need a history lesson because if what I'm talking about is true, then there's a longer, broader strategy.
So you don't want immigrants in here at all?
We don't need any more. No. Not
so you want to just close the borders for everybody?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, obviously I disagree with you on that.
Okay, but that's fine. But the reason that I'm saying that is because there is a real long-term socialist strategy to change the demographics of the entire West, and these documents point to that. This goes all the way.
What does it matter to you where someone comes from? What does it matter
if people's heritage and tradition makes sense? All the people who come here.
How does that affect
all the people that come here? Certainly believe that. So
what does it matter where somebody was from, so long as or the color of their skin?
For example,
so long as if they have
Sunni Islamic beliefs, it matters quite a bit.
Okay, but if they're not breaking the law and they're decent people and they're family people, why does it affect?
It's way more complex than that because, for example, in Islam, they have the idea and the belief that you pretend to be amenable and affable to the society that you're going into. And then over time, when you gain power, then you overthrow them. That's in the Quran.
Okay, well.
So that's one example.
Do you have friends that are Islam descent?
That are Muslim?
Yeah. You have any friends?
Do I have any friends? No.
Yeah.
No, Brian.
No, that's not what I know you have friends.
I mean, I've
interacted
interacted with all of the top Muslims for 8 years.
But do you interaction is one thing, but like, do you spend time with people of Muslim faith?
Not really.
Ever? Okay. So I have, and I didn't say you didn't have friends. I was I misspoke.
That was a joke.
That's fine. But I can tell you that I know a lot of people that are Muslim that live in this country, maybe a couple dozen, and they're good people. They're nice people. They're family people. Not every Muslim wants harm on America. Not every Muslim is a terrorist, but there are people on the right that do. Laura Loomer thinks that all Muslims should be deported. She is despicable. She is a racist. Now, I disagree with you on the fact that you don't want any immigrants in this country at all. But I will say this. Every single time Donald Trump says, make America great again, it always meant to me, make America white again. That's what I believe many in his base believe.
Well, wouldn't that be racist?
Yes. Yes.
But you're saying racism is wrong.
Absolutely, it's wrong. And I'm saying his slogan, and a lot of people that abide by his slogan, want America to be white. And I don't know if
but
that's
you just said what's wrong with the people coming here having.
I don't see anything wrong with people from.
What's wrong with them having their heritage and their tradition? Right.
Well, it depends specifically what you're talking about. But if they're not breaking the law, then let them believe in what they believe.
What's wrong with people who are white having their heritage and their tradition if they're not breaking the law?
Okay. I don't have a problem with that either.
Okay.
But what you're saying to me is you don't want any immigrants in this country.
Sure.
Okay.
But I mean,
I think that's wrong.
Does Japan have to take in third world people?
First of all,
do they have to?
That's a different country. I'm talking about the United States. What makes America?
Is this a universal principle?
No. I believe the United States.
So it's not universal.
The United States of America was
founded.
So it's
particular just to America.
Well, we live in the United States, so I'm going to speak on what I want here in the country.
So
that
it only
I live
applies to people in America
in
that are white. It doesn't apply to other countries.
In a perfect,
so it's relative.
In a perfect world,
it's arbitrary.
In a perfect,
is it
world,
arbitrary?
I'm answering you. In a perfect world, I would love the entire world to operate in a state of live where you want to live, have the religion that you want, and I don't want people to be judged based on religion or singular.
So Japan should take third world
in a
migrants.
Perfect world.
Should they?
In a perfect world, I want every
you
government.
want to talk about this world, so should they in this world?
Yeah, I think everybody across
every country should take in immigrants.
I think
at untold amounts, infinity.
As long as you're vetted properly. Okay,
they must take in infinity, brother.
Well, I mean, listen. I come from a different cloth, I guess, and in my personal opinion, I don't care what you look like. I don't care what the color of your skin is,
unless you're white in
I don't
America.
Care. No, you're not letting me finish. No, it has nothing to do with that.
So it's a double standard.
No, it's not a double standard. You're not hearing me out.
Okay.
I don't care where you're from. You could be white. You could be black. I don't care. You could be as 100% white like me. I want everyone to have the same opportunities as long as you're vetted properly. Yes, I do want border security. I want people to be vetted. But the fundamental difference here is I don't care where you're from as long as you don't have bad intentions.
That's great that you don't care about that, but that wasn't the question. The question was about the ethics of an entire country taking in massive amounts of other third world migrants. That was the question.
First of all, it's dependent upon, are they coming in the right way? It's dependent upon, are they properly vetted? It's dependent upon where are they going to go? Are they going to be able to provide something to the United States, tools and skills that they have? That's part of the vetting process. So as long as you're doing that properly and we don't have bad people, which I don't want. I don't want bad people coming here. I don't want people that want to do harm to America. I don't want rapists or child molesters or, quite frankly, people that you support like Donald Trump. I don't want people like that in this country. And if they're properly, I'm being serious though. I know it's funny, but I'm being serious. I don't want people like Donald Trump here, orange people like Donald Trump, who are 34-count felon liable sexual abusers, people that you support like Donald Trump, who's named thousands of times in the Epstein files. I don't want people like that in this country. I don't care what the color of their skin is like you. I don't care what country they're from. I don't want people in this country like Donald Trump. And I can give you multiple reasons why. You voted for a 34-count felon. You voted for a liable sexual abuser. Why are you so worried about people from other countries coming here when the guy who you support, the president of the United States,
is like a fallacy machine?
No, it's not a fallacy machine. It's logic.
You don't actually know what fallacies are because you demonstrated that earlier.
Okay,
you didn't know what appeal to masses was.
I know what someone who is a threat to this country looks like, and I know what someone who is not. An immigrant.
But you think that massive amounts of people should be able to come into the country, so I don't think you actually have a good assessment of what threats are.
I don't think you have a good assessment.
Your situation would allow for the complete disintegration of the
country. I don't think you have a good assessment of what's good for this country and what's not. You want our borders.
Well, your assessment was based on just purely subjective what you want.
You want our borders to be closed. You don't want any
that would
immigrants.
be good for the country.
Okay,
right?
but
so countries that have
voting for Donald
borders,
Trump, but voting for Trump's good for the country. That's good for the country.
Given what he campaigned,
starting ill-advised
given
wars
what he campaigned on, yes.
Yeah. So but he's not doing that. Who cares what this guy says?
That's irrelevant to what you calling me out for voting for what he campaiged.
You want good people in this country.
You're trying to associate me with a bad guy again, which is
because you support him and you voted for him. You have no problem supporting a
disagree
felon
with his policies already.
What about his behavior? You want good people in this country. You don't want migrants coming in.
Politicians have crazy behavior all
Really?
the way back.
Name me another politician that's ever been the president that's a 34-count felon that's a liable sexual abuser. Please give me one example, Jay.
Well, I don't know what the number of
No,
felonies.
because you couldn't find that. Because you couldn't find that. Name me
Bill Clinton.
I don't defend Bill Clinton. You can try the what about?
I mean, I'm not doing a what about. You asked me, how would that be a what about to answer your question?
It was Bill Clinton a 34-count felon?
I didn't say he was.
Oh,
I said there is probably nobody with 34 counts or whatever.
Yeah, you voted for that guy.
Well, you asked me an absurd question to give a specific person who had 34 felons,
listen,
which obviously there's not a person that would admit that. So.
With respect, I think it's absurd.
Okay.
When you say you want our borders closed and you don't want
but you
any
can't tell
migrants
me why it's
coming
absurd.
here. Why? Because
when I asked you for the other countries,
we
for
were
that
founded. I'm telling you, we were founded by immigrants.
But
the
not
thing
with open
I've
borders.
loved about this.
So you're going to go
country,
back to the founding. Does the founding allow for open borders?
No, I'm giving you my full explanation.
Okay.
We were my personal opinion is that
so it's relative.
It's the land of opportunity, and I believe that if you're vetted and you're you're not a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
We should give everybody the opportunity to succeed in this country. You go through the process of becoming a legal citizen. Mm-hmm. There are a ton of immigrants that have come to this country that have done so many great things for this nation.
But that has nothing to do with what I was arguing.
Well, I mean, you just want the borders to be completely closed, which I think is absurd. Okay. I'm sorry.
But the countries that do that seem to do well.
I just disagree with you. I just think that, and again, you might not like the comparison I'm making here, but I think it's important. You seem to have a concern and you think it's bad for the country to have immigrants coming here.
No, infinity immigrants.
Yeah. Well, again, I think maybe there needs to be something put in place, but you've made the case that you don't want immigrants here at all. You want to close the borders completely, right?
It's not needed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that you might think is not needed, but how does that affect you negatively? If immigrants are coming,
I'm not arguing for what affects me personally. I'm just
how is it bad for America?
For the country in general,
how?
And countries that have homogenous populations that keep to their traditions and their heritage seem to flourish and function better than those that are demographically changed. Hence why I was referring back to the older strategies of the War College and others that have written about how to do demographic replacement, which is a form of warfare.
You think immigrants, all undocumented immigrants that are in this country now, should all be deported?
Yes.
So people that have lived in this country for decades that have children here, how about anchor babies? Do you think they should be deported as well?
I would want the law to be changed on that. Yes. So
you think that if you're a 3 or a 4-year-old child that was born in this country, they should be deported?
Unfortunately, yeah.
You do. Okay. Well, I think that's extremely harsh, and I disagree with you. By the way, if you're seeking asylum from a country, from Mexico, for example, and you're going about it the right way and you filled out the right paperwork, it is illegal for the Trump administration to deport you. Do you understand that they're doing that right now? It is against the law, and they're going against what our Constitution says. It's happening right now as we speak. You have ICE agents outside of courtrooms when they have filled out the proper paperwork.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're focusing on minutia of bad situations that happen to individuals in masses of tens of millions of people, when the overall net negative for the country is more important than the minutia. And one person is a news story, but the statistics of millions of people get forgotten. So it's more important for the long-term benefit of the country in general than to highlight, as the left often does. I'm not saying you're a leftist, but they highlight specific cases to do emotional appeals. And so, like you've done in this debate, it's a lot of emotional appeals, which is also a fallacy.
I don't think it's emotional to say that the president is ripping up parts of our Constitution and breaking the law.
Those are
breaking the law is an emotion.
Those are emotional appeals.
But does it say that we all have, what does it say in our Constitution? Does it say every citizen has the right to due process, or every person? What does it say?
Off the top of my head, I don't recall, but I would assume
kind of important.
I would assume it's citizens.
No, you're wrong. In our Constitution, it says any person has the right to due process. This is really fundamentally important.
But they also didn't have the idea of infinity open borders at the time of the founding of the country.
You use the term infinity, but you said you don't want any immigrants coming into the country. So that's different than infinity.
My solution to infinity is the closing of the borders.
Right. You want the borders closed, and you don't want any immigrants coming in. And the point that I was trying to make is, if you care about our Constitution, which I hope you do, I do as well. It says in our Constitution, our forefathers, it says not any citizen has the right to due process. It says any person. And as much as
a person also can be a lawbreaker, and people that are here illegally are lawbreakers.
Absolutely, but that doesn't mean they don't have the right to due process. That's what it says in our Constitution.
I wouldn't have a problem trying to vet and do due process.
But they're not doing that, Jay.
Well, that's I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't.
That doesn't bother you?
I didn't defend that specifically. You just now asked me about that.
Okay, but you're saying that any child that is born.
No, I
in this,
said specifically highlighting certain emotionally charged cases is neglecting the bigger problem. And that's what the left tends to do in this topic, is highlight the emotional appeal topics about this child or that child, which is unfortunate, but it's not the big issue. The big issue is
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying in philosophy, an emotional appeal is where you cite a specific example and then you expand that to the totality and say that on the basis of how you feel about this specific example, you should sway your opinion. So the reason it's a fallacy is it's not actually based on the logic of the situation. It's based on what you feel. Like war propaganda does this, where they say, look at this child, he was killed in the war, therefore be against the war. Well,
I'm just talking about our Constitution and the law.
No, you weren't. You were talking about specific emotionally charged cases.
No, I was specifically talking about what it says in the Constitution.
Well, first you talked about the emotionally charged cases, then you asked me about the Constitution.
I'm asking you about, and I was responding to the law, which states if you are from certain countries like Mexico and you're seeking asylum and you come to this country and you fill out the proper paperwork and you're in the middle of that process and you show up in front of a judge, it is illegal for the Trump administration to deport you. And the point that I was trying to make is this isn't a one-off or a couple cases. Thousands of people have been deported in the middle of the paperwork process where in our own Constitution, it says they cannot deport you if you're seeking asylum from certain countries. It's against the law. That's not an emotional argument. But it's the law that's being broken.
Thousands of cases versus 10, 20, 30 million people that are here illegally in the last few decades. That, again, that's highlighting something that's not the main issue. So it's more important to save the country than to be overly concerned.
I don't think these people are ruining the country, and our country needs to be saved. In fact, per capita.
I disagree.
Okay, well, do you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime from an undocumented immigrant or an American citizen?
Depends on where you are.
Okay,
because if I go to certain places where there are no,
there's going to be more crime in certain cities, but as a whole, and you could look this up, FBI statistics, you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime from an American citizen than you do an undocumented immigrant. I think that's very important to note because a lot of people think that brown people and undocumented immigrants coming into this country are going to rape your kids and they're going to kidnap your wife. It's just not the case. There are examples. There are examples of undocumented immigrants that do horrible things. I want those people deported. I don't want them here. But the overwhelming majority of these people that are coming into this country that are here already, many of them, that are undocumented, are not bad people with bad intentions. I want bad people thrown out of this country. That may be true,
but it's still illegal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's against the law.
Yeah. So you think, so your opinion is if you break the law, there should be consequences. Is that a fair assessment?
Sure.
What are the consequences for Donald Trump, the man who you support? You're laughing, but
because you're trying to pay me as if I'm some sort of like,
well, no,
I support every single policy.
This isn't about policy. This is about consequences.
No, well, now you're changing between when I told you I was an issues person, you say I'm a Trump apologist, which you admitted earlier.
I did not say you're a Trump apologist.
You said the man that you support, and I'm like, no, on specific issues.
Okay, but you
I'm
voted
an
for him.
issues person.
Okay, so let's talk about this.
And I already agreed that
let's forget about the fact that you voted
bringing
for
up
him
the stuff that we've
because it's
settled.
hypocrisy. You want people held to the highest. Hold on, I'll explain to you what I mean. And I don't think you're a Trump apologist. I don't think you are. Based on the 20 minutes I've known you, I don't think you are. But you want people to be held to account. If it's somebody, by the way, it's a misdemeanor if you come into this country illegally. It's not even a felony. But you want people held to the highest extent of the law. In this case, a misdemeanor. Okay, fine.
I believe for the maintenance and safety and health of the country, because I think the country will collapse.
Do you agree with me? I disagree with that. But do you agree with me that we should have that same standard held to the highest people in power, including Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think nobody should be immune to or above the law. Sure.
Do you think that standard has held up when it comes to Donald Trump and the 34 count felonies that he was found guilty of, or the Jack Smith case, January 6th? Let me ask you another question since we're talking about the law. Do you think January 6th happens if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election?
Would January 6th have happened?
Yeah, if Donald Trump didn't lie, which clearly it was a lie. I don't care what Alex Jones says. If Donald Trump didn't lie about the 2020 election because he didn't win, does January 6th happen?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. No. All right. Hypothetically speaking, Jay.
You asked me a lot of questions.
Right.
I want to.
Can I just touch on this real quick?
Sure, but I want to do some interrogation as well. Because
fair enough.
You've asked me a million questions.
You can ask me. Go ahead. You can ask me anything you like, Jay.
Last question, Brian. Last question.
Well, to this issue, you're telling me that if Donald Trump did what every other president did in American history, which was concede, which he didn't do, you think January 6th still happens and people are trying to overthrow a free and fair election? You can't answer that question? You don't know.
No, it's just an argument from silence. I don't know what would have happened had this major event not occurred. So if
it's
he
a weird
conceded
line
and
did what every
argument.
other president did, you still think January 6th happens and they storm the Capitol and they're
I'm
saying,
saying I
"Hang
don't
Mike
know
Pence"?
what would have happened.
Okay.
Maybe it's
Does
less,
it happen?
Maybe it's less likely.
Who won the 2020 election free and fair?
I believe there was manipulation, but I think most elections are manipulated.
Okay. Who won the election free and fair? Did Joe Biden win a free and fair election?
No.
Is there any evidence of widespread voter fraud that you can share with us today?
This is my opinion. I don't spend a whole lot of time focusing on voter fraud or voter election issues because I'm not really into day-to-day politics. But studying the history of the CIA, the way it works, I think that they can easily tap into their techniques for regime change and throwing elections.
Did Donald Trump win the 2000?
In dozens of
Did Donald Trump win the 2024 election free and fair then, or would you hold that same standard and maybe Kamala won?
I think that Trump had overwhelming popular support.
Gotcha. So it's only free and fair if Donald Trump wins.
But I just gave you my opinion on 2020.
Based on what though? There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. He had chances in a courtroom.
My opinion on how the CIA rigs elections.
That's
all that I
never
have.
been proven in a court of law. But go ahead.
So a lot of what you've argued, you keep saying my opinion, my opinion, my opinion. I'm just curious, like where, on what basis ought we go with your opinion?
On what? Which opinion?
Every topic tonight has come back to your specific.
We'll be specific on
opinion.
what topic.
In general, on what basis ought we to choose your opinions?
Well, first
Why?
of all, it's not an opinion.
But you said
that the Trump administration is breaking the law.
No.
I've already clearly
why
stated
ought
that.
why ought we do this or that for the country? For example, you said that we ought to have certain types of immigration that's legal and this and that. And I'm saying, you said this was my opinion, my opinion, my opinion. I'm saying, why ought we do that? Because you didn't apply those things to other places like Japan. So why ought we only go with your assessment?
Well,
of what's
first of all, the United States of
good for
America is not Japan. Number two.
So why ought we choose that for here?
Well, because I care about the country that I live
So
in,
the
and I'm more
ethics-
concerned about the
so
United
are
States,
the-
the country that I live
Are
in.
the ethics relative or are they universal? Is the question.
As I've said, I wish that every government across the world shared the belief of we are going to vet you
So
properly.
we ought to follow your ethics because you wish it was the case.
No, I just don't care what the color of your skin is or where you're from. If you're a decent person, I welcome you in my country.
So
I think
why-
that's a pretty fair,
Why
logical
ought we
opinion.
follow your position? Because it's logical.
Why ought we follow not being a racist? Because that's kind of what I'm following.
Why is that
here.
wrong?
I think if you don't want anybody from any other country, which is what you have said,
Right.
you want our borders
Right.
completely shut down.
Yeah.
I believe that is un-American.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
The
so
beauty
what?
of this country
So
is that we have the freedom and others have the freedom to make something of themselves
So is
wherever
that-
they come
should
from.
that
And I
be-
think that's a beautiful thing about the United States.
Okay.
I can't speak for Japan.
why ought we follow that though? Because you like it. You think it's beautiful.
Why?
Yeah.
This country was founded on that. Our freedoms.
I mean, many
And-
countries are founded on
Yeah,
all kinds
yeah.
of things that are stupid. So why
your,
that?
your reasoning is the country is going to go down the crapper if we.
That's a tu quoque. That's
I mean,
a what
that's,
about?
that's your reasoning behind it. And I
Okay, so fine. My reasoning's dumb, but I want to know why we have to
I
follow
didn't say
your
it was
reasoning.
dumb.
I'm just saying I
think
can
it's
see that it
misguided.
is. Okay, why ought we follow yours?
Because we have been following it for decades, and I think we're the best country in the world for a very, very long
That's
time.
a circular argument.
No,
So
it's
we ought
not
to
a circular
follow it
argument.
because we've been following it.
We
Why
ought to follow
ought?
it because I do believe
So
as
there's
a whole, immigrants have a lot of benefits to the United States of America.
But you're not telling me why we ought to follow that.
Well, produce, jobs that immigrants take that most Americans are not willing to take, working for wages that and Americans, they help the economy. There's no question that it helps the economy.
But why are those things
It's a
good?
boost.
So in other words, you're assuming that there's this good that you have access to that's
Sure.
the basis for
Different cultures,
what's
I
the
think,
good?
is good. I think learning different cultures,
Mhm.
and I think what's made America great is being for lack of a better term, a mix of different colors in the crayon box and being diverse. I think diversity is a good thing. And I don't. I
So
certainly,
there's a standard of the good, which originally was what you said was your opinion, and you think that it works and this and
Do
that.
brown
but what's
people-
the standard?
do brown people scare you?
So now you're asking questions when I
Well, yeah,
asked
because
to
I don't
interrogate
understand
you.
your logic to this. You've
So
said
you're
America's going to go down.
You're deflecting away from the fact that your positions
I'm
are
not def-
subjective.
I'm not deflecting.
Are they
against
relative?
anything.
Are they subjective opinions?
Not based on crime and statistics and the benefits
No.
that the economy has
The morals,
towards
the ethics. Are they subjective?
Yeah, but I was talking about the
My
economy and
question
numbers.
is the ethics, not the numbers.
What about the ethics?
Is your ethics subjective and relative, or is it objective?
Yeah, I think there are people out there that could disagree with me that are maybe don't like brown people. I think there are people out there that have different opinions that think that brown people are
I'm not
terrible
asking,
to
do
the country.
people have
Yeah,
those opinions?
I guess you could make the case.
I guess you're not interested.
I guess you can make the case it's subjective. I guess you can make that case.
Okay.
I mean, some people could say the Klan isn't racist. I guess that's subjective too. You could make the
That's
case.
not what subjective
You could
means,
make the
but
case. I know what subjective means.
What does it mean?
I know what it means.
What does it
I
mean?
understand what it means.
What does it
and
mean?
this is Sean.
I'm
this
not
is-
sure that you do. So in terms of relativism
Yeah,
and
okay.
epistemology and ethics,
So
what is
this
that?
is-
What do you think that
This
means?
is okay. I'll answer your question, but this is the Andrew Wilson approach.
Well, I've been doing this debate for 25 years.
I know,
so,
and you can be doing it for 100 years. It doesn't mean anything to me. It means dick. Okay, so let's continue the
so
conversation.
we don't have to have a basis for
No,
ethics.
no. This is a word game that you're trying to play with me.
So
I've
all
done this with
philosophy,
Andrew
all
Wilson.
philosophy and ethics
Okay.
is word games.
You can say all racism is word games too. The point that I'm
I'm
trying
asking for
to,
the good, and you're saying it's a word game.
Okay,
So your
so
position is based on word
I've
games.
told you, you're not listening. First of all, it's a benefit to the economy.
Well,
I
why
can-
is
I
that a
can
good?
show
That's
you
begging the question. What's the good?
why is it a benefit that people
No,
help
yeah.
our economy?
You have a reference to the good in all of these assertions, and I'm asking you, what is this good? Because you just keep saying, then you admitted that it's subjective and it's relative. Well, in that case, then there's no reason to prefer it or proffer that on anyone else.
Well, I would ask you the same question. Why is it bad?
Well,
for
I
the
don't
country?
believe in subjective ethics.
Okay. Well, why is it bad for the country? Why are immigrants bad for the United States of America?
Well,
Why do you want to
again,
close the
I already
borders?
argued that because a massive influx of other people that are not indigenous to this population replaces its demographic.
Don't we have a
warfare.
First Amendment right
It's
to believe in what we
demographic
believe in?
warfare.
So you want to take the First Amendment
Well, if
right
you
away
want to
from
say that
people?
your ethics comes from the Constitution, that's fine.
You want to take? I'm asking you though. People that are in this country that are not from America.
Uh-huh.
You don't believe they should have a First Amendment right to believe something differently than you when it comes to religion or beliefs or
you misunderstood the question. So the question wasn't, are there people who have different positions or do
Yeah.
they have a right to a different position? The question was, what's the epistemic basis you have for your ethics, which was purely subjective.
yeah.
Okay, well then debate's over.
I mean,
So
you know,
if it's purely
I can-
subjective, then
it's
in
not-
a debate, then you've conceded.
But no, I've not conceded anything. What I'm trying to tell you is that when it comes to immigrants that are in this country, and
But your
I'm talking
ethics
about,
is relative.
I'm talking about legal immigrants. I can give you statistics that show you that it benefits
But you
the
haven't told me
economy.
why we ought to follow your position.
I'm telling you because you don't want
No,
our
but-
economy to be boosted.
You don't understand.
don't-
The question is about why ought we follow it, not just to restate what the position is.
Why ought we follow it?
Because
why
it's, because it's relative.
why should we? Why
Because
should,
you've already said it's
why should-
relative and subjective.
why should we not close our borders? And why does Brian believe that we should allow people from other countries in? As I've told you before, and I'll tell you again.
So again, it's a higher level order of questioning that's about the basis for the ethics, not to restate your position again, but why ought we follow your position when you then admitted that your position is relative and
Well,
subjective?
I've told you that I don't think immigrants coming into this country as a whole are bad for the United States of America. I've stated my position there.
Which is based on the good, but we don't know what the good is.
Well, I've told you already.
Which
It's a
is-
benefit to our economy. I believe diversity.
But that's just restating your position.
Well,
So
yeah.
why ought we? So you're saying what is the case? This is the case. This is the case. But why ought we follow your subjective relativistic argument? Because when you come to debate and you admit that it's relative,
yeah.
then there's no reason to follow it.
Well, listen, you come from the cloth of you want our borders to be completely closed, and we can play word games.
It's
The
not
reason
word
why
games.
you are, and the reason
No,
why
relativism is
the reason why I disagree with you, instead of getting into a philosophical debate, which I'm not here to do, I'm telling you that in my personal opinion, it's my opinion, I don't have a problem with anybody from other parts of the world, from different cultures and different backgrounds and different religions coming into this country, so long as they're properly vetted and we know they're not criminals and they have good intentions. I don't think that's a threat to the United States of America. Now you do. You think it's bad for America. You think it's a threat to America. I disagree with you. I've given you multiple reasons why. First of all, a lot of these people are good for our economy. They're hard workers. They want a better life for it themselves. I think diversity is a good thing. I don't want everybody to look like you and me. I think diversity is good for the country. Now, you can say, well, that's just your opinion and you're not basing it on anything. Well, you can base it on the crime rates. You can base it on how it benefits our economy, the financial numbers. There are a lot of different ways. Why should we follow
all of
you?
those things are assertions about what are the case or
Well,
facts,
tell me,
what
why
you
should we
think
follow
are the
you?
facts.
Why should we follow you? I've answered your question. You might not like my answer. Why should we follow you and why should we close the
Well,
borders completely?
If the ethics that you prefer are relative and subjective, then in a debate, that means that anyone can just state the exact opposite, and it's just as legitimate as your position.
To me, this isn't about winning a debate. This isn't about.
I'm just
this is
saying
no.
it is a
This
debate.
is
I mean,
people,
we agreed to a debate.
Okay,
so.
but to me, when I come to a conversation, it's not about playing word games. It's not about talking about philosophy.
Well, why would you think it's a
hold
word
on,
game?
Hold on, hold on.
I don't understand.
Hold on. Because that's what we're doing now. I want you to explain to me why it's so bad.
So you just don't want to get drilled into your position to give the basis for it.
It's not about me being afraid of anything.
Well, then
I
why
want
are
to
you saying
know.
it's a word game?
I want to know why.
Your position is based on the good.
I
and
gave
then when we
you-
get to the good, it's just
I
like
gave you-
relative, bro.
I gave you
It's
my.
just like your position, man.
I gave
it's like
you-
the dude.
I gave you my reasons why I think immigrants coming into this country as a whole
Well, that's
is
just
not
like
bad.
your opinion, man.
I'm telling you. Well, yeah, that's what this entire thing is about. It's about opinions.
But that's
right?
not what I'm
But
arguing. no.
okay, well, you can have a different way of talking to people, and you have that right to do that. But I don't play that game. So I'm asking
Right.
you, why? Why do you want the borders closed, and why do you think immigrants all over the world are so bad for America? Tell me why.
I argued and explained that earlier that the demographic replacement of a people group is a form of genocide and warfare. So just like
immigrants
I
coming
would
in-
not, just no, I said mass amounts of infinity immigrants, not legalized immigrants, and not reasonable, sensible numbers of people. Sure, that makes sense.
But that's not what you said earlier. You want the borders closed. You don't want any
No,
immigrants
I'm
coming
saying
in.
now that's the case. I think
So
that's,
right
that's
now-
the wise decision
Okay,
now.
so right now you think it'd be a wise decision to not
Yeah.
allow anybody from other
Yeah,
countries
that's restating
to
what I just
come
said.
into
10
this
times.
country
That's correct.
legally,
Mhm.
because you think there would be genocide.
No, I said that bringing in infinity amounts of people is a form of genocide. It's demographic replacement, and that's what I disagree with.
So
That's why I would say that the present policy would be wise to completely end immigration at this stage.
So people that are on student visas, would you be against that as well? People,
I'm talking about the masses of people, and so yes, all of it. I mean, a lot of the, for example, Chinese foreign exchange students, a lot of those people are spies anyway. So
Mhm.
yes,
so
all of it.
didn't Trump say he wanted to bring in 600,000 Chinese because we
I
didn't
think
have
that
enough
was a
talented
mistake because
people?
in his first administration, he said,
I want to cut off these Chinese students. A lot of these people are Chinese spies. Probably not wise to do.
All right. So
So,
I guess
again, I disagree with Trump reversing on that. That's, by the way, that's another one I disagree with.
okay.
Let's wrap up immigration.
Okay.
You wanna
Yeah, I
close
really
off?
don't know what else to say. Obviously, I disagree with him. Obviously, I want people to be vetted properly. I think there's a lot of good people all over the world that make America great. I have a lot of friends that come from other countries, wonderful people. I have friends that are from the faith of Islam. I don't come from the cloth of judging somebody by where they're from. I judge them on their character. I think Alex Jones is just as much of a threat to the United States of America. I think Donald Trump is just as much of a threat to the United States of America than the overwhelming majority of immigrants that come to this country. You ask me, I think we should deport Alex Jones. I think we should deport your buddy to Gaza. I think Alex Jones is a piece of shit. I think we should deport Donald Trump to Gaza. I think he's a piece of shit. These are people that you surround yourself with. This is people that you vote for. I think those people are far more dangerous to the United States of America than a lot of the people that you're talking about that you don't want here. That's my personal opinion. I think there are bigger threats in the United States of America, people that look like you, than anybody that looks brown that comes into this country.
But
Hopefully.
racism was wrong.
What's up?
Racism was wrong, right?
Yeah. How am I being racist?
Well, you just divided up your assessments on the basis of
Yeah,
race.
because you are very concerned
But
that people.
racism is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Racism is wrong.
But
I have
you're
no problem
doing-
with white
You're
people.
doing a racism right now.
No, I'm not. I'm doing orange people. I don't care what the color of skin Donald Trump
Well,
is
you
or
said
Alex
my
Jones is.
people.
Yeah, because you seem to be having a problem with people that come from other backgrounds
So
and
now
look
you're doing a
differently than you.
racism.
I think that there are people, all sorts of people of different colors.
But racism is also subjective, or is it morally wrong?
In general, racism is terrible. It's wrong. It's
For
horrible.
Everybody?
Anybody who's a racist.
So now you're not a relativist, a subjectivist.
When did I ever say that it's okay to be racist?
No,
It's another word game.
No.
What are you saying?
So either something is relative or it's objective. And now racism is objectively morally wrong everywhere, but your ethics was relativist and subjectivist. So you just
I've been
contradicted
very, very
yourself.
clear, and I'll make it very, very simple for you. Racism is wrong
On what basis? And that was subjective.
on any basis.
No. What is your basis?
When you judge people
Okay.
based on
Fine.
their skin color, when you judge people and treat them
Is that
differently,
universally morally wrong?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, but now you're not a relativist or subjectivist. Now you're believing in moral universal claims, which you said isn't really
The
possible.
point that I was trying to make, Jay, which
So
I
it's a
think wasn't-
contradiction.
No, it's not a contradiction. The point that I
So
was
is it subjective or is it objective?
I'm going to give you the easy background.
Is
to
it
why
subjective or objective?
I'm going to answer you, but I'm going to give it to you. in
Well, you're
the
going to
answer.
yap to get around the
Uh,
question
no, I'm
because
not
either
gonna-
it is.
No, you
Because earlier your
no.
ethics were subjective and now they're
Uh,
universal.
Okay, so
You can't have both
it is
ways.
my opinion that when you
So
treat
it's not
somebody-
universal. So it's not
um,
universal. So you just contradicted.
So it's not a contradiction what I'm about to say.
It's
These-
universal. It's not universal. That's a contradiction.
What's your definition of what racism
That's
is?
a what about?
Do you think it's
That's a
universal?
two-quick way.
What, is it universal? What's racism?
I don't. I mean, I don't know even what racism is technically.
you
So
don't know
define
what
it for me.
racism is. Is that a serious statement?
It is a serious
You
statement,
expect me to
because
treat
when
you-
people define it, it gets defined in a million different ways. And
You
for
can't
example,
define
in your,
what you
well,
can't
your
define-
situation, you just did a racism
Hold on,
to
hold on,
me.
hold on. No, I didn't.
I'm a BIPOC person.
No.
So
I see that.
I'm a
I-
black
I-
indigenous
Okay,
person of
I'm
color.
sure you are.
And how dare you?
So you should
divide
be.
me up.
So you would want you to be deported then. So let me be clear on this, okay? The reason why I said people who look like you is not an attack on all white people.
I
The
don't.
reason why I said that is
So you're
because there are,
dividing it up by races.
the reason why I said that, which I think you're struggling to
No,
understand,
I'm
Jay,
just
with
having fun with it.
respect.
I'm just having fun with it.
I don't think there's anything funny when it comes
Okay.
to racism.
But racism is subjective, but
Okay,
also
here he goes
it's
again with his
universal.
word games.
No,
Okay.
this is a
Okay,
contradiction.
can I call you
So
Andrew?
wait, word games are.
So
If I say A and non-A, is that a word game or is that a contradiction?
so here's the point that
Is
I
that
was
a contradiction
Hold
or
on
a
a
word
second,
game?
Jay. Calm down for a second. Don't
Is
spread
that
out on me. Calm
So
down.
logic is word games.
Relax for a second.
Is logic
The
word
point
games?
that I was trying to make was that you seem to think that if we allow a lot of immigrants coming into this country,
Infinity brought up.
yes, it's bad for America. The
Correct.
point that I was
It's bad
trying
for
to
anybody.
make, the point that I was trying to make is people like your good friend Alex Jones and people who you voted for, like Donald Trump, to me, are probably more of a danger to this country
I understand your
than most immigrants that are coming into this country.
Okay.
But yet you want to be concerned about all these people all over the world that you claim are going
Well,
to cause a genocide.
You
What
assume
is-
you assume that I had no other
What's go-
concerns.
I mean-
but
I mean-
but why is Donald Trump or Alex Jones more of a threat to the country than
Sure.
millions and millions of?
Well, first of all, First Amendment, free speech. He attacks people like me on a daily basis with
Well,
lawsuits,
somebody-
civil suits.
against you? or
Yeah,
in
towards
general?
people in the media, in
Okay.
general, media members in general. When you look at the Pentagon press briefings, I can give you an example there. I know people that are way on the right. They don't allow people like me at these press briefings, and they don't allow people in Pentagon press briefings unless they're right-wing idiots. And if someone gets in there that is on the left or in the middle, Pete Hegseth does not call on them. That is against our democracy to begin with anyway. I think that's a joke. When you look at the White House press briefings, and we're just talking about the media right now. You
Yeah.
asked me about the media.
Right.
When you have idiots like Jack Posobiec, and listen, I think Tim Pool, I don't think Tim Pool's an idiot, but I think Tim Pool would agree he's not a journalist. He's a talk show host just like me. Talk show hosts and opinionated people should not be in that room. That's not about opinionated people. That should be about strictly journalists doing their job. And I find that an attack on democracy as well. I think that is a threat to democracy. It's a threat to this country. It's a threat what happened on January 6th. It's a threat that he still has yet to concede an election. That was not stolen, by the way. There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. You cannot, you couldn't articulate that. Whatever you said about the CIA or the FBI or whatever you said.
I said I had an opinion on
Okay,
it. So
well,
you're acting like I
okay.
couldn't articulate.
So all of a
it.
sudden now it's okay for you to have an opinion. But if
Did
I have an
I ever
opinion
say-
on
no,
that,
I-
you're playing word
I
games
asked
with
for
me.
the justification for your.
Okay, what's your
epistemic-
justification?
I asked for the justification
enough.
for your morals, which
Fair
is not
enough.
okay to just have
All
an
right.
opinion.
Okay, it's fair enough. What's your justification that the 2020 election was stolen? Let's use your same
Again,
logic
I don't have
view.
a hard
You don't-
position on that because I said
Now
it's
you
my-
don't have a hard position.
It's my opinion based on my studies.
And what's your justification?
Why do you keep interrupting me when you ask me? But because I don't need a justification for my assessment. That's an opinion.
I don't need my
That's a
justification.
different type of question than what's the grounding for your ethics.
Well,
or
I don't need my
morals. They're two different
justification for an
questions.
opinion, I guess. I guess I could use the same logic that you just
No,
used.
for ethics.
Okay,
not
well,
for opinion. Ethics.
Again, what about
Your
our
justification
democracy?
for ethics can't be a mere opinion.
Yeah.
That was the argument. Now you're conflating two different questions.
Okay.
By the way, I don't believe in democracy. Democracy is retarded. So
You don't think we should have elections?
I think that elections have been kind of a joke for a long time. So I just don't really care about them. So it doesn't matter to me whether there's
You
elections.
don't think
or
we
not.
should have elections in this country?
I'm more of
surprised.
I'm more of a monarchist. I believe in monarchy.
Okay. Wow. I didn't expect that. You don't care about democracy?
I think democracy, like Plato said, is retarded.
So
gay.
democracies were, what do you mean it's gay?
Fake and gay.
Can you help me understand something? I guess we could have a little fun here. I feel like words of MAGA supporters, they use homophobic slurs. I'm not saying you did that on X to attack people. I don't understand that. It's like the way an 8-year-old talks.
But Brian,
what do you mean democracy is gay?
It's just a joke, dude. If ethics are relative,
I don't understand.
Then I just have a different ethic. But
okay, so democracy is gay.
Faking gay.
Can you that should be the title of
the video.
This debate. So people on social media, some are saying you're a fascist. I didn't say that, but some people on social media are saying that. What would be your response to that?
Yeah, I've done a lot of critiques of fascism on my channel. Again, Orthodox Christianity is not fascist. It's had a history of being monarchist. So if you think that fascism is monarchy, that would be a big historical mistake. Fascism is the joining of the corporate interests together with the state interests. That was Mussolini's definition. Mussolini was originally a socialist leftist who became a fascist, and so I do think that the history of fascism is bound up with corporatism, and I'm opposed to corporatism. So I would actually favor a minimalist government that is a form of hierarchy.
I haven't said this, but there are people that have accused you of being anti-Semitic. I have not heard anything that you've said in this conversation that would lead me to believe that. Why do you think people say that about you, and what are your thoughts on Jewish people in general?
Well, again, I think guilt by association. If you go on a podcast of somebody who's critical of Israel, you'll immediately be called
I don't think that's anti-Semite.
I'm just saying that I'm answering the question as to why might somebody say that. I do believe that the Talmud is not good. I don't think it teaches good things.
You're a religious person. Okay.
So I'm giving the answers about. I think that Zionism was originally a socialist, quasi-religious movement from Chaim Weizmann, Theodor Herzl, Moses Hess, and I disagree with Zionism, but I think that as an Orthodox Christian, we have a duty to love all people. And so we can't hate anybody or specifically pick out certain people. But I do think organized crime syndicates like BB or Jeffrey Epstein should be opposed. But I don't make sin.
What does that have to do with Jeffrey Epstein's religion, though?
I don't make sin genetic, was what I was about to say.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Jewish people in general?
I think that, again, we have a duty, as Paul says in Romans 11, to love and to pray for the conversion of Jewish people.
I think religion's bad for people, by the way. I think in general terms, billions and billions of people have died because of their religion, because of their religious beliefs.
But what's wrong? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with death?
Murdering people's kind of
if
bad.
morals are subjective, there's nothing actually wrong.
I think murdering people and killing innocent people
it's not actually
bad
it's not a universal moral wrong. It's just a personal subjective.
Yeah. Well, I think most people would agree murdering is probably not good.
Okay, but
probably not a good thing to kill innocent people.
That's a fallacy because appeal to masses is a fallacy.
Well, I'm not going to debate that
because it's a fallacy.
Murdering.
If you want to keep using fallacies, I'm just going to call
it's not. Listen.
Appeal to masses is a fallacy.
You can try to call it what you want. All I'm simply saying is a lot of people have died, innocent people, because of their faith and religion.
Right, so that's,
and all I'm saying that's a bad thing.
You're stating what is. Yep. First of all, it's a genetic fallacy. So because these
people haven't died because of their religion.
You know what a genetic fallacy is?
Yes, I do. But answer my question. Answer my question. I asked you first.
You don't know what it is.
You keep asking me. You keep asking me questions to try to I don't know.
But if you're making bad arguments, I have a duty. If we were playing chess and you kept violating the rules, like I would have to say, you can't move the pawn like that.
No, you're right. Listen, Jay, you're right. Calling democracy gay is a great argument. You're very intelligent. No, okay. Well, it wasn't very funny. Do you care? I'm serious though. Do you care about our democracy? Do you care?
Again, I would like to see America flourish and do well. I don't have any hopes for democracy. I think democracy is a term that's weaponized and used.
Do you think
the CIA kind of used this in the Cold War?
I don't care what the CIA said.
I'm glad you don't care about history. I know you don't.
I'm asking you about your opinions. I do care about history, but I'm asking you about your opinions right now.
My opinions come from history and from the books that I read.
So we shouldn't have elections? What book did you read that said we shouldn't have elections?
I just said that I don't have a lot of faith in elections. I didn't say we shouldn't have them.
And where's your evidence that our elections are being rigged or stolen?
I said that the CIA has a long history of rigging elections in foreign countries.
That's a very general statement.
So that's why I don't have a lot of faith in elections in general. I think that at the local level, people can do a lot more. They can be a lot more effective in terms of politics than national elections. I mean, unless you're a lobbyist, unless you're part of a PAC, unless you have billions of dollars, really, I don't see. That's national politics.
I understand what you're saying,
and I would have a problem with that.
I understand what you're saying, Jay. But I'm an evidence. I'd like to think of myself as an evidence.
Okay, all I said is, but everything I said is not even controversial.
But Jay, you are not willing to say that Joe Biden won a free and fair election. And my question,
I said I have an opinion on that.
Right. You said you have an opinion. And most people that have an opinion base that on actual
And
real
I gave you
evidence.
a reference.
You didn't give me any specifics.
So I don't think you'd understand the difference between when people have an opinion that they have as a theory or an assessment that they don't have a hard position on versus when they have a hard position. So I have some things that I have hard positions on.
Okay, but when somebody tells me that they believe that the election might have been
I said it's an
stolen-
opinion based
Right.
on the way that I know about
Okay,
how the CIA works.
okay,
That's my
so-
opinion.
So your opinion is the election might have been stolen
Mhm.
because you're based on the way the CIA works.
Correct.
But if you presented
In
that,
dozens of other
if
countries
you
rigging
presented-
elections,
if you presented,
they rigged the
I'm
elections
not
in Iran.
talking about other countries. That's different.
Well, that's the precedence
Okay,
for why it would happen
okay,
here.
We're not Iran. Okay. If
We
a judge,
are actually.
if I'm a judge,
because the way the deep state that you asked about at the beginning, the
Yeah.
way they operate in other countries is the same way that they
So,
operate
Jay, let's
here.
try this.
That's why.
Let me try this a different way. If I'm a judge right now, and your case that you're making that you believe opinion that Joe Biden didn't win a free and fair election,
Mhm.
what evidence would you be able to present to me other than I know how the CIA works, which is not evidence, by the way.
Well, it is evidence.
Okay, then where is you have to have something called
It's called precedence.
Okay, you have to have something presented to a judge called
Yeah,
widespread
but
voter
I
fraud.
didn't come here with a hard opinion again on the 2020 election.
So you can have an opinion based on no fact at all.
I didn't say no. Again, you're lying about whether I had.
So
an
tell me,
argument.
give me something that makes you believe that Joe Biden
Because
didn't win.
I believe that there's a breakaway security establishment that is the quote deep state, and the same way that they rig
deep
elections
state.
in
You sound like
dozens
Alex
of other
Jones.
countries. I don't care what it sounds like. That's again a fallacy of association, which you said you're not going to do, which you keep going.
Well, you sound like Alex
you
Jones. You're saying that the
That's
election.
a fallacy of association. I'm
saying
sorry
that-
that you can't do the nuance, but that's a fallacy.
You're making a claim that
no,
the election.
it's an opinion.
Okay, an opinion. That
Brian,
the,
are there things that you have opinions on that you're not hard set on based on some theory or gut?
sure. So if I told
Okay,
you
so
that
then why are you trying to grill me on something I'm not hard
if
on?
I told you that I have an opinion that Donald Trump is a criminal, I would give you actual cases and evidence to prove that he is a criminal.
Yeah,
when
and
you
my
say,
argument was actual cases of dozens of countries where the CIA rigs elections.
but I'm not
like in
talking
Iran.
about other countries. We're
Are you
talking about
this-
the United States.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that that's how it
Let's
would have
just say that's
functioned
true.
here.
Okay.
Can you not get that?
So you believe the way the CIA has allegedly rigged other elections in other
Allegedly,
countries.
they do this.
Okay.
You don't know that?
So it
There's
must
dozens
have-
of cases.
so you
of
believe
this.
it
like in
probably-
Iran?
So
when
you
they
believe
rigged
it
elections?
probably was rigged. How did they do that here? How did they rig it?
Again, the same way that they do it in other countries.
How? Tell me. I don't
There's
know.
a lot of different
Educate
techniques.
me.
There's a lot of different techniques.
How did they rig it here? Help me understand.
Again, it's my opinion that they rigged it probably with
How?
ballot stuffing. They can bring
Ballot
in,
stuffing.
they can,
Wouldn't there
they
be
can,
evidence of ballot stuffing though? Wouldn't you have cameras
Again,
and footage? And
dude, I don't have a hard opinion on this.
Okay.
So I don't know why you're trying to debate me on so like if I had a hard opinion, I would say
okay, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you why.
it's a theory.
I'll tell you why. The reason why I'm grilling you on this, for lack of a better term, is because there is zero. Let me repeat.
Mhm.
Zero evidence
Mhm.
of widespread voter fraud.
Does the
That-
CIA do
hold
that
on,
in
hold
other
on.
countries?
That
Do they do that?
Hold on, let me just
But do
finish
they?
my thought,
But do
and then you have the floor.
But do they?
There is zero evidence of widespread voter fraud.
Well,
That
you
could
just
have-
want to
that
yap
could
the
have-
same position over and over. And
It's
over.
not a position. It's a fact.
But
Earth is not
but does-
flat, and
Does
Donald
the-
Trump did
that's
not win
again
the
a
election.
fallacy. You're just trying to associate.
Well,
me
no,
with
I'm
the
just
third
showing how
positions that I have.
ridiculous your argument is here.
Well,
It's
you can say
ridiculous.
that it's no, it's not because I'm saying
Because you know how the CIA
there
works
other-
and they
do
rig
they
other
do they
elections.
do that in other countries?
I'm sure it's happened in the past, but that
Oh,
has nothing to
okay.
do. That has
So
nothing.
that's the precedent for why I have the suspicion of 2020.
So you don't.
That's
So
simple.
by your standard, you don't
What you
believe
just
in any
admitted.
elections.
No.
You think any
No.
election is
Now
every
you're
election
giving,
is
now you're
rigged.
giving a straw man. I didn't say every election is rigged.
But
So that's a straw
2024
man.
wasn't rigged.
That's a straw man.
Okay, so
You know what a straw man
2020.
is?
Yes, I do. 2024.
But did I
wasn't rigged.
argue that all elections are rigged?
Yeah. Do you know what evidence is? I can play your
Do I
word
know
games
what
too.
evidence
Yeah.
is?
Do you know what evidence is?
No, I
Do
don't
you?
know. I have
Okay.
no idea.
No, I don't. Okay, I can play your stupid word games too.
I'm not doing a word game.
The
Okay,
2024.
wait a minute.
The 2024
If
election.
you want to, you keep saying it's
Hold on.
word games.
Hold on.
So I want to know if the
Hold on.
law of
I'm asking
non-contradiction
you a
is it a
question.
word game.
I'm asking you a
I
question.
don't care. I've
Okay,
answered all
okay,
your
well, no.
questions. Is the law of
You
non-contradiction
said,
a word
hold
game?
on.
You just
The
say
2000
everything's a word game.
The 2024 election was not
I
stolen.
have a suspicion.
Okay, but the
You want to
2020
debate a
was.
suspicion?
So the 2016 election where Donald Trump won, I
But you
agree.
admitted the CIA does this
So
in
hold
other
on.
countries.
Let's-
So why are
let's-
you grilling on a suspicion?
I don't have the knowledge of that. So in
But
2000,
you said it probably did happen.
maybe I don't
Okay,
know.
so that's
I don't
my
know. I don't know.
precedence.
I don't- I'm
Final
not
point.
making-
Final point on
I'm
this.
not making that claim. All I'm simply
This
saying is in 2016, you believe Trump won. In 2024, you believe Trump won. But it's very interesting that you retort back to the CIA as the reason why you think Joe
For a
Biden.
suspicion, dude.
Right. Joe Biden didn't win because you have a suspicion.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll let the
based
listeners
on
decide.
something that you said is possible.
I'll let the
So
I'll let the listeners
so
decide.
I
on
want to
that
ask that. So if I say A is the same thing as not A, do you think that's a word game, or is that the law of non-contradiction?
No, I think you're a hypocrite. I think when you use these words and you have these opinions, no, I think you're a hypocrite.
That's an ad hominem.
Okay, no, I wouldn't. I'm not name calling you. I wouldn't say that, but I think
You call me a hypocrite.
Okay, well, because you say certain things, like for example,
Dude, okay, fine. You think let's say for the sake of argument,
you
let's just say I'm evil.
hold the same
Fine,
standard
dude, I'm evil.
in every election.
Let him ask. Let him ask.
Is A the same thing as non-A? Is that a word game? It's the law. Is the law of non-contradiction?
It depends what we're talking
Is
about.
the law of
Depends on
non?
the
No,
topic.
I'm asking you about the law of non-contradiction. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is that a word game?
It depends on the topic that we are referring
Is
to.
the law itself a word game?
Like I said, I'll answer it the exact
Is the
same way.
law? Do you know that in logic you study laws, right?
What
Do you
about
think
law?
those laws are word games?
Do I think laws are
The
word
laws
games?
of logic.
Depends specifically what you are referring
The
to.
one called the law of non-contradiction. Is that
Okay,
a word game?
What about it? No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, thank you.
Not necessarily.
So I'm not playing word games.
But you are a hypocrite. You use a
Okay,
different standard for
But
Donald
there's
Trump
nothing
as you
wrong-
do
But there's
undocumented
nothing.
immigrants.
I actually didn't argue that Donald Trump was had a different standard. I actually specifically said that he should be held to the same standard. I don't think
Which
that.
he hasn't.
Well, that doesn't mean that. That's again had nothing to do with what I argued.
No, I think it has a little bit to do with it, but I do find it
Okay.
interesting.
But it's not what I argued.
When
so-
Trump wins, everything must have gone fine in the election. But if Trump loses, the CIA must have been involved. That's an Alex Jones conspiracy theory.
That's not what I argued.
That is a conspiracy theory. I know what's going on in the CIA, and I don't think Joe
I didn't
Biden
say
won.
I know. I said I had a suspicion.
You have a
based
suspicion.
on past evidence
Okay,
and examples that you admitted.
So
are
if I said I
possible.
have a
but you
suspicion,
admitted it's all possible.
if I said no, if I said
You
I
did.
had-
You said the CIA.
didn't-
You
no.
said the CIA could rig elections in other
I
countries.
don't know. I don't have any
You
knowledge.
said it's
of that.
possible.
What I do know is that
You said earlier it's possible.
what I did, just because I say something is possible.
Okay, then that's
doesn't mean that
that's
it
the bait.
happened.
I didn't say that you
Okay.
did. That's
Okay.
my suspicion.
So you just have a suspicion.
Sure.
With no evidence.
You want to
back
grill
up
me
that
on a
an election
position
was
that,
won.
that
No,
I'm
I
not
just
set
think
on.
I just think it's
Okay, fine. It's hypocrite.
It's a
But there's
little-
nothing wrong being a hypocrite because ethics are relative anyway.
Yeah.
What-
You guys
what else
want to
do
end
you-
off with the files in the deep state, or what do you
the
want?
Epstein files. Sure,
Yeah.
we could talk about that. Sure, absolutely. You want to go first this time? Go ahead. I'll be a gentleman.
You'll let him go.
I'll let him go first.
What's the prompt? Are they real? Are they good? Are they bad? Like,
Yeah. What would you want to? I guess you mentioned Trump's in there a lot, but do you have a hard take on that, Brian, on the Epstein files with Trump?
Sure, I have some very strong opinions on it.
So you start off then.
First of all, a lot of MAGA Republicans and even members of Trump's, well, not before his administration, a lot of people that were around Trump campaigned on this, the deep state
Yes.
and Hollywood
Right.
pedophiles.
I agree.
And then they had those binders, as you know, Jay. Jack Posobiec was one of them. I called him out for this, and Pam Bondi made them all look like clowns.
I agree.
As you know, there's still, we might agree on this one. There's still 3 million. Well, let me just start with this foundation. You agree with me that what happened to these kids is horrible.
Sure.
And people should be held to account, right?
Right.
And to this day, the only 2 people, I think there were a few more arrests, right, overseas, but Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein are really the only 2 people in this country that have been held to account.
Correct.
What does Donald Trump do? Well, the first thing he does is says his former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, to interview Maxwell.
Mhm.
A couple days later, she's sent to a Club Med facility. Geez, I wonder why. She's still there, by the way.
Right.
And when she was asked, as you know, I think it was like a month or 2 ago, she pled the fifth and she said she'll only answer the questions if Trump basically gives her a pardon.
Mhm.
Trump had nothing to say about that, and he hasn't ruled out a pardon for her.
Right.
Donald Trump is mentioned in the files that we've already seen partially, thousands of times. In fact, Donald Trump is mentioned more in the Epstein files than Jesus Christ is mentioned in the Bible. He doesn't want us talking about it, Jay. He calls people like you and me stupid for even talking about the Epstein file, even talking about it. I've been very consistent. Whether you're a left or a righty, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I want everyone held to account if you're in those files. Release everything, redact the names of the victims. If Bill Clinton did some horrible things, fine. Hillary Clinton testified. Bill Clinton testified. Why isn't Howard Lutnick testified? This is a guy.
Agreed.
This is a guy, as you know, a month ago who said he was never on the Epstein Island. And then
Lied, yeah.
right, of course. And then he lied about it. Trump doesn't want him to testify. Why isn't Donald Trump testifying? If Hillary Clinton, you know what the Republicans did? They set a precedent. Now Melania should have to testify. She was closer to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein than Hillary ever was. So do I know for sure 100% if Donald Trump committed any crimes in there? No, I don't. I know there are accusations.
Right.
But what I do know is that this is a huge cover-up. Huge cover-up. I want people held to account. This is a huge cover up, and then I do believe a portion of the war in Iran, a portion of it is a distraction.
I agree.
So that's kind of like my.
Yeah, I covered this pretty extensively on my channel. We live streamed, I think, every day as these were beginning to sort of drip out. We did about 30 hours of live stream. People can go check all that out, where we sort of archived everything. I thought that was pretty substantial that came out. I do think absolutely that the rest of the files should be released. There should be total, they should redact everybody but victims. Absolutely agree with all that. I do think it was a huge mistake to cover this up and to not allow and not to push for this to be released when this was a campaign promise. So I'm having a hard time figuring out where we could disagree on this one. Totally agree. Huge blunder, as big as any of the other Trump blunders.
What would it take for you to regret your vote if something came out in the Epstein files?
Well, to be honest with you, my vote was just kind of
anti-Kamala.
Yeah, you could say that.
What was it about Kamala? I know we're kind of, because we're going to agree on the Epstein stuff. We're not going to argue about that.
Yeah. Only because I agreed,
what was it about her?
Only because I agreed with what were the majority of Trump's campaign promises.
Okay, I get that part, but let's talk about Kamala for a moment.
I don't really.
Is there anything about her like you just said? I just can't vote for her because of
a goober.
What do you, in what sense? Like, what do you mean?
She's a goober. Just in that sense.
Define goober. Like,
I don't take political people that seriously anyway. So,
but is there something about her that said I can't vote for her? Like, what was
it? Are you
about?
wanting me to say that she's a brown person?
No,
that's not what I believe. No.
Jay, that's not why I'm asking the question.
I'm a BIPOC person. So.
Jay, that's not why I'm asking.
No,
I'm asking the question. I want to know what policies you didn't like.
Well,
or,
obviously, again, the positions, as I said, that Trump campaigned upon. No new wars,
right?
Reining in. The
so it was more about his promises more than an anti-Kamala.
I'm always an issue person, but I definitely think that even if Donald Trump went full neocon, which I always had the suspicion that he could turn neocon, I felt like that it would still be a better bet than Kamala. But I don't even think that.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you is it was more of Trump's promises that you thought he would keep, which I don't know why.
It was like, if I'm going to have to choose between these two, then I'm going to at least agree with these campaign promises. But I also don't believe politicians actually ever. I mean, even if they keep half of their promises, that would be.
But Jay, he ran them basically on two things in 2016. He ran on, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
Sure.
Obviously, that didn't happen. And every campaign stop, he talked about locking up Hillary Clinton and he was going to hire a special prosecutor.
Right.
So what would make you think that he was going to keep his promises this time around?
Perhaps the potentiality that he had a lot of ignorance and naivety about who he staffed as his people. So there was a lot of neocons, a lot of people that betrayed him. And so my hope was that if he saw that Bolton and these kinds of characters were sort of duplicitous, that he might actually take actions to quote drain the swamp and actually not have a bunch of lobbyists and PAC type people.
If we can rewind,
let me finish it. The last thing I would say is that also I think it had to do with he campaigned originally on not taking GOP money, and then I suspect that he did take GOP money in 2016, and that's why you had so many neocon appointments to his staff. And then I had hoped that in 2020 that he would learn from the first mistakes and perhaps at least attempt to not staff.
I think based on his age and where he's from, he hasn't learned from any of his mistakes. I would also say,
unfortunately, it seems that way now.
Yeah, Jared Kushner, when he took $2.1 billion from the Saudis, Donald Trump with his crypto scheme scandal.
I disagree with all those.
Yeah, 8 times more wealth now than he had when he first got into office. I mean, I don't know, man. My whole take on this whole thing, and like I said, we're not going to disagree on the Epstein stuff. I'm glad that's a really important thing. I'm glad we agree on that. Is that I went to Trump rallies and I was criticized nationally for saying it felt like a Klan rally. Now, that might be extreme language. I don't believe everybody that goes to a Trump rally is racist. I don't believe everybody that goes to a Trump rally is a Klansman. But in a way, the way you talk sometimes in a joking fashion, right? 99% of the people were white. I went to a Kamala rally and it felt like America. It was very diverse. I saw Confederate flags at Trump rallies. I saw a lot of hatred. Fuck Joe and the Hoe shirts. It was just a lot of hatred, man. And I've never said, and I've never grouped all Trump supporters as one. I wouldn't put you in one. I've never done that ever. And I never will. But I will say this. I don't think everybody who voted for Donald Trump is a racist, but I do believe everybody who is a racist voted for Donald Trump. I strongly believe that. And I could go with policy. Listen, you haven't done this, but a lot of people on the right call Kamala. They've called her a whore. She slept her way to the top. I haven't heard you say that. I'm not accusing you.
I didn't even remember that, but I remember people saying that.
Yeah. I'm not accusing you of that. I want to be clear, but.
Well, I'm trying to sleep my way to the top, so I could be a hypocrite for me to call that out.
That's funny, actually. See, you made me laugh. You're funny. But, I hated that rhetoric. You know what I mean? Here's a woman who, she became the attorney general, duly elected twice, even if you disagree with her politics, that's fine. This is a woman who became a senator and then a vice president. Wasn't my first, second, or third pick. Let me be very clear.
How about this? Yeah. She's a woman. That would be an area where I don't want her in politics.
Why? Tell me why. Seriously?
Yeah, sure.
You don't want women? Why? Tell me why.
I want less women in politics, just like I would want less immigration.
Well, let's go with
I don't think women are fitted for that. I don't think they're made for that.
Why? Tell me. Why would you say women? A woman can't be a politician?
I don't think they're made for that.
Why?
They can do that.
What are their characteristics that would lead you to believe that?
Women tend to be more emotional. They tend to not make their decisions based on facts, reasoning, and logic. Typically, it doesn't mean that all. I don't know. That's funny. Like,
I'm laughing.
Are you married? Because
no, I'm laughing.
If you have a wife, like
I'm laughing because the guy who you voted for has nicknames for people he disagrees with. You couldn't find a more insecure, emotional guy than Trump.
What does that have to do with the question of whether or not Kamala would be good?
I'll tell you why. Because you're making the case, which I disagree with, that women are more emotional.
Right.
When the man who is probably more emotional, 10 times more emotional, I would imagine, than most women that are in office right now, who has nicknames for people he disagrees with. He puts on 8 layers of orange makeup when he wakes up.
That's all a bunch of comedy. I mean, Trump's a comedian. So the stuff you're talking about there.
So you want a comedian to be president over a serious person who happens to be a woman?
A serious person. So
you don't think Kamala's a serious person?
No.
Why do you say that?
I don't think most politicians are serious people.
Why is Kamala not serious?
Politicians in general.
She's got a law degree. She's a good mother. She's got a good family.
I see politicians as like, well, what's the old?
So
the adage is that politics is Hollywood for ugly people.
Okay, so hold on. You don't think women should be in elected office? What other jobs do you think are not fit?
Front lines.
What if they pass a physical, the same physical that a man passed?
Well, none of them have passed the Navy SEAL physical.
I'm not talking about Navy SEALs. Just in general serving, you don't have to be just a Navy SEAL.
Well, if none of them have passed it, wouldn't that suggest that they're physically different?
I believe that if a woman is able to, and by the way, there are some women that are able to pass the same physical standards that a man has to pass.
Sure.
Okay, so why would you have a problem with them serving?
Because the exceptions don't make the norm. I mean, I think that's kind of common sense. That just because there are exceptions, we wouldn't want that to be the norm.
Why not the norm be just pass this one generic test that all genders have to pass? Why wouldn't that be a good norm?
But the test and most women not passing that test would make my point that men and women are fitted and made different. They have different.
It's a case by case basis, though, as far as physical ability. I think you would
agree.
Again,
I agree that there have been, for example, frontline soldiers typically have not been women, and there's a reason for that.
So you don't think women should be elected officials because they're quote unquote emotional? They're too emotional.
Should not be the norm.
You don't think that women, even if they pass the basic physical that a man has to pass, they shouldn't be able to risk their life and serve?
It shouldn't be the norm. I said. I know that you're not listening.
I'm listening to you. The norm, but why can't the norm just be one basic standard? Physical
because that's not all that it is. There's also a push. There's a social engineering push to get, for example, all women in America to go to college to become career women. I think that's a bad idea. I think women are made to be at home.
So women are made to be at home.
Yes.
A lot of people would call that a misogynist statement.
Okay.
Women are made to be at home. Should women be allowed to vote?
Again, I don't think voting. I think voting is dumb. So
okay, but
I didn't ask you what ought to be.
I didn't ask you what your opinion on voting was. I'm just saying right now where we at.
Do
you think women should be allowed to vote?
I don't think voting makes sense in general. So it doesn't.
You don't like voting.
It's like an irrelevant question.
You don't like voting,
but I don't think women. If you want to,
a
simple answer, women shouldn't be involved in politics or geopolitics or any of that. It's not what they're made for. They shouldn't
be allowed to vote. So they're made for being at home. They're just made for being at home.
Mm-hmm.
So women shouldn't be out there in society in the office place. They shouldn't be able to have their own careers. They shouldn't be allowed to be teachers and doctors.
When you make that attempt to make that a norm for society, it undoes society.
So without getting personal here, and I don't mean to be personal, you're a married, I'm not trying to go there with you. That's why I'm asking you first. You're a married man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you tell your wife, if your wife wants to have a career, she wants a job, maybe she wants to do what you do. She wants to be a podcaster. You would tell her, no, your job is to be
We
home.
do that together, so we
Okay,
have
but
a
hold
good
on.
dynamic.
If she said, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. But if your wife said to you, for example, Jay, I've been thinking I really want to be a teacher or a doctor, you would tell her no.
Typically, careerism is not good for women.
So women shouldn't have the choice to have the job that they want.
I also recognize that we live in a world that's not that way. So people are forced into situations. So I don't blame them for what they were taught, what they were indoctrinated with growing up. But I don't think that that's the best way for women to live. No.
But that's your opinion. Why not let
No,
women
it's not
decide for themselves?
that is not my opinion.
Why shouldn't a woman be able to decide for herself what's good for you?
Well,
Why should Jay Dyer decide for them?
They can do that in this society, and I think that you can observe the negative effects of doing that. My view is based on traditional Christian morals, so that's why that's the ought.
So Christian morals say that women shouldn't be allowed to have careers?
Generally, yeah.
Jesus Christ would have said that women shouldn't be allowed to have careers.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Proverbs 31.
Okay. Well, again, I'm unaware of Jesus's teachings of saying that women shouldn't be allowed to live their life.
Jesus is
do what men tell them to do.
appointed St. Paul, and Paul says that women are made to be subject to the husband and to have children and to be at home. So Jesus appointed Paul to teach.
What if a woman doesn't want to have a child?
They don't want to have a child?
Yeah, if they don't want to be a mother and they just want to be a career person, is that wrong?
I mean,
too?
again, you have the ability to do that, but again, I'm saying that I don't think that.
But in your world, you don't think they should have that ability.
Well, I don't think that we have the ability to enforce some sort of like Handmaid's Tale situation.
Of course you don't. But in your world, you would want women.
But I also believe in
I
believe in a degree of freedom in society.
What about all the women that are teachers, professors, very successful doctors, surgeons, brain surgeons? What about all the women in this country that are?
What does that have to do with what? That's like saying that because people do things,
you're making the case that these women are not qualified because they're too emotional.
I said that it shouldn't be the norm.
It shouldn't be the norm.
Right. So, for example, I know one woman who is extremely proficient in history. She knows geopolitics very well. She's an outlier. So it's not the norm for that domain for women to be in that. The fact that we have that in modernity and that it's common doesn't mean that it ought to be the case.
This is why I don't live my life based on religion. I don't live my life.
But you live it based on subjective, just ad hoc.
No, I don't live my life based on what something is said in a book. I'm not a Bible thumper.
But it's just based on what Brian says?
No, you're just based on what Jesus Christ says.
Well, that's a better basis than just what Brian says.
I would first of all, I would respectfully disagree with you with Jesus Christ wouldn't want any woman to have a career and be forced to stay home. I think that's a misogynistic opinion in my.
Well, I mean, can you give a place in the Bible where Jesus implies that that's okay?
I don't live my life. No,
but you said Jesus wouldn't say that.
I'd like to think.
Where would Jesus say that?
So you're telling me in the Bible it says
Paul
that
says
women
that who was taught by Jesus and appointed by Jesus.
So women should stay at home and they shouldn't.
You made the argument that Jesus wouldn't say that. So I'm asking you where.
Well, I'm asking you where does it say?
Why are you asking me when you made the assertion?
Well, tell me where does it say? I already did. Where does it say in Jesus' teachings?
Paul says to Timothy that women should not be teachers and that they should not be outside of the home. They should be at home.
Okay.
So, if you,
I would have to take a look at that.
It's in First Timothy, but you said Jesus wouldn't say that, and I'm saying, but he does say that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll tell you what I think about the Bible, and I'll tell you what I think about religion in general. You can believe in the tooth fairy. You don't know if there's heaven and hell. You have no idea if there's a God. You can believe it. I don't think there's anything wrong with you believing it. I actually am not an atheist. I'd like to believe that there's something out there, a higher power, but we don't know. You don't know if there's hell or life after death. You don't know any more than I know. And guess what? We won't know until we're dead. But what I don't like about religion is people that push their beliefs on other people. Okay. And I believe that's what you're doing.
But you push your beliefs right now.
No, I want women to do whatever the hell they want to do.
But you're pushing that belief.
Give me an example of
Are you pushing that belief?
Give me an example of me pushing a belief and forcing other people or treating other people differently because
pushing a belief does not equate to forcing people to do it, because you've been arguing your positions the whole time.
My whole position is I want people to live their lives and I want people to do what they want to do.
That's a position that you're pushing on people.
I want people to have the freedoms to have a career regardless of what's between their legs.
Okay, but
I don't give a fuck what's in the Bible. I want people to live their life.
Okay, but you say, I have all these Muslim friends. They don't believe that.
I'm going to ask Sean a question. Okay, Sean.
So you're not going to answer this?
No. This is important. This is important. Sean, I hate to bring you into this. Is it ridiculous for somebody to think
do you disagree
that
with all
when
the
a man says that a woman should have her place not having a career, but should be at home Is that a misogynistic view? Am I wrong in thinking
What's wrong with misogyny?
I want to know what Sean's opinion is. I trust his
He is
opinion.
referencing a Bible verse, so I think he's approaching it from that point
Yeah,
of view.
but would you say that's misogynist? And a lot of people would consider
But ethics are relative, so there's nothing wrong with racism or misogyny.
you're telling an entire group of people what to do, what you think they should do.
Like you've done this whole debate where you
No.
said that every white man in America must accept your form of liberalism.
I never said that,
You did.
and I'm not a liberal, and I never said that. When did
Well,
I say
you're
that?
a liberal. You're a classical liberal.
I'm a classical liberal. Okay, let's go with that. And we had this conversation before, and this is what happens when we have these conversations.
But you've been arguing that the people in America should accept your positions. So you're doing the same thing you're calling out.
I'm not asking you to accept any of my positions. I'm just disagreeing
well,
with
then I
your
guess the
positions.
debate's over.
I
I thought debates were about trying to
I'm-
convince people of your positions.
I
You're not
know-
doing that? Are you trying to convince people of your
I
positions?
know that I will never convince somebody like you about anything.
Oh.
You are stuck in your views and
Okay,
your
so I'm bad.
Christianity.
That's fine. I'm bad. But what about
I
the
didn't
audience?
say
Are you
you
trying
were-
to convince the audience?
I
of
didn't
that?
say you were bad.
I'm just saying.
Let me
like,
be
fine,
very
whatever.
clear.
I'm
Jay,
whatever.
let me be very clear. When I wake up in the morning and I do my radio show,
Uh-huh.
I'm never trying to convince anybody. What you're going to get is my beliefs
Okay.
and my opinions. I don't show up somewhere and say, boy, I saw that Jay Dyer guy and he thinks all women should be in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to show up to that debate and I'm going to try to convince him that women should have their own
Well,
careers.
The debates,
never-
are about the audience.
Okay,
though.
I'm
They're not
never,
about, the other
I'm
person.
never going to convince you because this is the way you believe.
Right,
and
but it's the
doesn't sound-
audience that you're trying to convince.
Okay, well, listen, anybody who's watching this, chances are, if they're a fan of yours, they're going to agree with you.
Mhm.
If they're a fan of mine, they're going to agree with me.
Mhm.
I'm not obsessed with audience. I'm not obsessed with changing people's minds
Mm.
because in most cases, I think a lot of people that are on the right, that are Trump supporters, it is impossible to convince them virtually about anything. Occasionally, I get a caller who calls in and says, you know what, Brian, I made a mistake. I regret voting for Trump. It could be the Iran war. It could be the Epstein files, whatever. But I'm not trying, Jay, to convince anybody. That's why we are fundamentally different.
Well, in a debate, I am trying to do that
Okay,
because debate's about trying to convince people.
okay,
of the
well, you haven't
argument.
done that.
That's what classic
Okay,
debate is.
okay. Well, again, when you make a statement that you believe all women,
Uh-huh.
in your opinion, should be in the kitchen, most people
be
would
the norm.
most people would define that as extremely misogynistic. And let me
Fine.
tell you something.
No, I don't care what most.
I
people
don't
think,
have a
because that's
problem.
fallacy.
Neither do I. But I can tell you that if a woman is capable and she's smart, then I have no problem with her being a politician. I think there are people in DC that are women that are very good at what they do.
Mhm.
I have no problem with them. I think a lot of people like you didn't vote for Kamala because they're women.
Sure,
And I
yeah,
think
I'll
that's
admit that,
wrong.
sure.
And I think that's wrong.
Okay.
And I think it should be about your intelligence and your merit and what you've done in your life. And Hillary Clinton, listen, I didn't even vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016, but I'll be the first one to admit she was overqualified for the position based on what she's done in her life. Donald Trump is a fucking reality TV show host. You voted for a reality TV show host guy with no experience on campaign policy. He was given a $500 million company from his dad when he was like a teenager. This is a guy that was a TV reality star. So if you want to talk about people that are not qualified, I would say maybe we shouldn't put reality TV stars as the leader of the free world more than what's between their legs, which it sounds like you're a little bit obsessed with. I'm sorry, it does sound that way. You would never vote for a woman. It's clear, right? You would never vote for a woman ever, right? Ever, because they're a woman.
There could be some extenuating circumstances
Okay,
where
good.
there's a
Good.
lesser of two evils. That's possible.
Okay, good.
Like for example,
Good.
if there was
I'm glad to hear that.
if there was a woman running in a local election that I thought my vote would have some effect on, sure.
So you would be okay with a woman being a
Well,
politician?
Brian, I said the whole time the norm, and you wanted to make it like expansive, universal claims. It was just what I said.
Well, you
was
made the
norm.
case, and we could rewind the tape, that women shouldn't be programmed. Women shouldn't be politicians.
The norm.
That's a generalization.
Correct.
That
But a
women,
generalization can include exceptions, which I said, for example, in the
because they're
case-
emotional.
For example, in the case of Nina, as a friend of mine, she's
Mm-hmm.
a PhD in history, geopolitics, translates foreign languages. I mean, she's an outlier in terms of a domain that's typically male dominated. I think there's a reason why STEM courses and things like that are dominated by men, geopolitics, because that's the domain that men are better fitted for.
I think in general, every human being is different. Some are more emotional than others. In general, doesn't matter what's between your legs, in my opinion. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are more capable than others. Some people are stronger than others. There's plenty of women that would kick my ass. And I said that to Myron Gaines, who is a misogynist pig.
Those are all exceptions, bro.
Okay, but you're making a generalization. You don't believe any women should be politicians.
But you're trying to make a generalization
that they should be in the
based
kitchen
on the exceptions, and I'm doing the opposite.
Okay, but every single human being is different, and I don't speak for women. But some
Well, the
women
fact
choose.
that there's still generalizations,
Okay, but
though.
some women don't want to have kids. Some women don't want to be moms. Some women put their career
But none
first.
of those were relevant to what you asked me was the best fit, generally speaking.
I mean, listen, going back to my original statements earlier, I don't like government involvement in our lives. That's my biggest criticisms of religion, is that too many people tell other people I'm right and you're wrong. No, my religion is right and your religion is wrong.
But don't you think in this debate, you think you're right?
When it comes to what, religion? I think anybody.
All the positions.
Okay, well, let's talk about religion.
I'm just saying, like, you
I
don't
think-
believe that about yourself?
What do you mean?
Don't you believe that all your positions are correct? You're doing the very thing that you're
When it
trying
comes
to say.
to
I believe, let me put it this way. I believe everybody's religious, even you. You have a religious commitment to your positions. You just don't believe that it's a God. You're basically just your own God. And you're saying that all my positions are what I say. And that's my opinion. And I
I'm not
dictate it.
forcing it down your throat. I'm not making law.
You don't have
about
to
it.
physically force things.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm telling you my opinions of how I
course you
feel.
are. You're trying to convince the audience.
You're telling half the. I'm not trying to convince anybody. You're telling.
Of course you are.
No, I'm not.
So you're coming to a debate.
Clear.
You're coming to a debate, not to debate.
I'm coming to a debate or discussion to tell you how I feel about different topics,
Well, that's
how
a
I might
feminine
agree
thing.
or disagree
How you
with
feel
you.
about it's a very feminine
Okay,
thing.
well, that's fine. You can call me. I
I'm
guess.
just joking.
I guess Jay thinks I'm in the kitchen. Then I guess I'm not. Jay, I got bad news for you. I'm not cooking you dinner tonight. But
you're not going to make a sandwich.
everybody is different. Every human being is different. Everybody has different skills.
Well, what does that have to do with what I argued?
Because you're making a generalization
Sure.
about women, how they
Right.
should all be in the
Yeah.
kitchen, and I find that to be extremely misogynistic.
Well,
I think it's wrong.
generalizations are not again on your wrong. It's on your basis.
The
not
women in
wrong.
your life, and I'm just making. If you tell them, I think you all belong in the kitchen. What would they say to you if you said that?
How is that relevant to?
I
it's
just
another
wanna
emotion-
know.
It's another emotional appeal.
Because I'm curious.
This is an emotional appeal again.
Okay, but I want to know the people in your life, your mom or sister, or whoever. When you say, "Hey, you guys shouldn't be
No,
politicians,"
my mom was an outlier. Actually, she was a very qualified editor of scientific journals.
I
So
think
she's an
that's
outlier.
great. I think that's great.
Mhm.
So why can't other people like your mom, who I'm sure was a nice
Well,
person?
in this society, they can, but that doesn't mean that it's the best for society. So the question was, what's the best for society? Not can they actually physically do it? So that's two different
So you
things.
think it's best for society to get all the brain surgeons and the teachers and the politicians and every
And I
woman?
didn't say all. I said generalizations. Typically, it's not the best for society for women to have what are classically male-oriented positions and jobs.
Wouldn't that be a case-by-case basis based on the person?
No, if you're asking me about what's generally better for society.
What about the individual? Does that
Well,
matter too?
in
What's
this-
best for the individual?
Well, I have a Christian ethic and belief, so I think that that's the best for society and for individuals.
So I would assume you think that gay people are all sinners. You're against gay marriage because of your religion.
Well, I believe that those are actions, not a state of being or an identity.
So you think everybody chooses to be gay? You think Richard Simmons was born straight?
Are
Because I think that's
What-
ridiculous.
you saying he was gay?
So there are many people when they're 4 or
I'm just
5,
joking.
when they're 4 or 5
Are you
years
saying
old.
Liberace
I
was
actually
gay?
had a
Because
conversation. I actually had a conversation with George Santos about this the other day. We're actually friends, believe it or not. And George told me he knew he was gay when he was like 4 or 5 years old.
Well,
And
but-
it's not a choice. And I think a
well,
lot
how
of
do- but
people
how do
who
you
are
know that? Just
because I talk to these people and they tell me and they're
well,
honest. How many?
that still wouldn't. That's not how you would know that.
So Richard Simmons was born straight.
I'm just saying that. I'm saying that what you answered with would not prove the way that you know that.
Do you think being gay is a choice?
Yes,
You do.
There can be
do.
epigenetic.
So you think sometimes?
Let me finish. There can
Sorry,
be
go ahead.
epigenetic or societal factors that can influence people's proclivities, sure. But I think there's still a degree of human volition involved.
Yeah. So let's go with that logic for a second. You think men in society who are once straight wake up one day and say, "Hey, I think I like penis now." That's the way you think it works? You think it's a
No, I
choice
think
like
there's
that?
there's probably in most cases a continual progression of moving in a certain direction. I don't think it happens overnight.
Okay,
I never
again,
said that.
I'm going to say,
you're just a bunch of straw men. I never
well,
argued anything
no.
like
Well,
that.
here's another one for you. I believe that sometimes in society, people hide behind their religion to hide their bigotry. And when people judge somebody based on sexuality, or in this case, what's between their legs, I believe it's a form of bigotry. And you say, well, this is what my
but again,
religion tells me.
no.
No, this is who you are. You decide to think that way. You decide to think that if somebody is different than you, I assume you're straight. If somebody is different, if somebody is
I
different,
decide this, but gay people don't.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, if
I
you're,
just told you
if you're
there
an
are,
agnostic,
there
I mean,
are-
couldn't everything be conditioned then?
there are people who are gay.
Could I be conditioned to believe my
There are
position?
people who are
Could I
gay.
be conditioned to my religion?
Could you be? I don't know. I have no
Okay,
idea.
So why would I be held guilty or accountable on your worldview?
Because when I talk to people about homosexuality,
but you don't even understand the argument I'm making. If it's
I am
genetic, if it's
understanding
genetic with gay people, and if my religion is genetic, then why am I guilty and gays aren't? In your
you think
view,
religion is genetic?
I'm saying if that's the case, in your view,
Religion is genetic. Religion
Brian,
is a
do
choice.
you not understand that?
I do. Religion is a choice.
Why can't I be conditioned to my religion?
Okay, because sexuality is different than religion. You see, for example,
Why can't I be conditioned? You're an atheist, right? Or an
okay,
agnostic?
No, I'm not.
You're an agnostic, right?
I believe that there's a higher power.
Okay, but
It goes back to what I said
how do
earlier.
you? But if I'm raised in religion from my earliest days, being taught about, say I'm baptized as an infant, let's say I'm brought up in Sunday school from the, age 4, whatever.
Yeah.
Why would I not be conditioned in the same way?
First of all, I believe that's wrong. My worldview on that is I believe
That's not the
wrong.
question.
Second of
Why
all,
would it be any
here's
different?
why. Here's why.
in your
Because
view?
I think most people who are gay would tell you. And by the way, I am
So
a
what?
straight man. I don't speak for gay people, but I think most people gay would tell you it's
So?
a little bit different.
The fact
It's a-
that again, you
hold on. It's a little bit different to switch a religion or say, by the way, I know people in my life. One woman who was a pastor, she's now an OnlyFans model. She's a great person.
None of this is answering
Hold
the
on.
question.
She made a choice to get out of that lifestyle and that religion and go live her life.
Okay.
Most people who are gay would tell you it's not just a snap of the finger. If you're born, I believe, gay and you want to turn straight.
So those choices are conditioned, and they're not actual free will choices.
Do you not believe in biology?
You're not even letting me finish it because this is a killer for your argument, and I never even noticed this until literally in this debate. So you can be conditioned to believe or to have those proclivities, but even though I go through the exact same situation, I'm guilty for the choice that I made for the religion, which is identical to the conditioning, according to you.
No. It's not
Well,
Here's what I think you're guilty
why
of.
is one of them free will and the other one not?
I'm going to be very clear again. Here's where I think you're guilty of. And this goes for any religion and anybody. When you judge somebody.
What's wrong with judging?
Okay. I think it's wrong to judge
Oh,
people.
well, that's great, but your
Hold on.
ethics are relative.
Okay. So when you judge an entire group of people because they are different than you because of the way they look or their sexuality, that is what bigotry is.
What's wrong with being a bigot?
Well, I think that makes you an asshole if you're a bigot.
Well, but I mean, those are just your own personal
Okay.
taste.
Well, you're right. Bigots are great people.
So personal
That's a great
taste-
argument.
No, I'm just saying
Bigots are no, you're right. Bigots are wonderful people. I shouldn't judge bigots.
this
You're
is
right.
why philosophy is good, because if you learn philosophy, you
This
won't
is
make
why
that
religion
argument.
is bad because
But I
he's
didn't
trying to
make-
defend
I didn't make a
bigots.
religion. I never made a religious argument. All I said was that
When you
there's no difference
judge,
between.
why is it so hard for you to admit
But
that when
if
you
my
judge,
judgments are my conditioning, then I'm not morally accountable on your worldview.
doesn't the Bible say not to judge?
If your worldview is correct,
Does the Bible say
if
not
your
to judge?
worldview is correct, my choices are my conditioning, so I'm not liable
Okay.
or accountable.
Does the Bible say not to judge?
It says judge with righteous judgment.
Yeah, exactly. So you think this is righteous? Taking all a group of people?
Yeah, because
and
I have
judging them?
I have a consistent
No.
basis to judge actions, not the people groups.
I believe God
you
judges.
don't have a basis.
I believe God can
What
judge
God?
people. I
What
don't
God?
know what God. Whatever God you. The
Then
tooth
how would you
fairy,
know
I
he
don't know.
judges
Donald
people?
Trump
Then how
might
would
be
you
your
know he
God. I don't
judges?
know.
Then how would you know he judges people?
Okay. Well, it's a saying. Okay. But I
So
will
it's
tell you
not a
this.
real
I
God,
don't
it's
even
a
know if
saying.
God exists. I don't know. And you need.
Then
neither
how do you
you.
know he judges people?
Neither do you.
How do you know it's
Neither
wrong
do
to
you.
judge people?
I made a statement as what you would say a joke.
How do you know
but-
that nobody knows that God exists? How do you know that?
We don't know for sure. Nobody
But
knows.
now it's a universal claim. How do you know that no one knows?
Where's your evidence that God exists?
How do you know that no? I didn't make a universal claim. You did. How do you know that no one knows?
There is no direct evidence that there is a God.
But
that
how do you
exists.
know that no one
Because
knows?
no one's presented it. That's
So
why.
do you know what a universal claim is?
Yes, nobody's
What?
presented it.
What's a universal claim?
Universal claim is what I just said.
Which is what?
Nobody has direct evidence that God exists.
And it's what? About all states and all people at all times. It's
Yeah.
a universal claim.
Sure.
Do you have access to universal states of affairs?
If you disagree with me, then tell me your evidence that
Do
God
you have
exists.
access to universal
Again,
states of affairs?
Give me your evidence that God exists.
Do you?
You could make.
So
you
it's a
could play word
tu
games
quoque.
with me.
So
Tell me
all
your evidence.
philosophical questions are word games, even though you admitted that the law of non-contradiction
Does God exist,
is not a
Jay?
word game.
Your Christianity does God
course.
exists, right?
Of course.
Where's your evidence that God
The
exists?
transcendental argument.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's direct evidence.
Yeah,
That's
it's a logical argument. Sure.
and hell and heaven exist, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Where's your evidence of that too?
because it's part of the worldview.
Gotcha. So your worldview, you know for sure. And if
I have
say,
the highest degree of
and if I say,
certitude that one could have.
okay, you can have the highest degree. It doesn't make it true, but
I didn't say it did.
we don't know if heaven or hell exists.
Right,
I
that's
don't
great,
know.
but
You
you-
don't know.
But you
And for you to make that
but you
claim, I
cl-
think is insane.
But you made the claim that you have universal knowledge that no one knows that, and you can't know that even
There-
on your own position.
there is
So you're going
no-
out of the bounds of what you can even do on your world.
There is no more evidence that God exists.
That's
than
great that you
Bigfoot.
keep saying that, but
I'm sorry, you
can't
don't have
actually-
the evidence.
No, but I didn't make the claim that no one knows. You did.
Your entire
Did you
life is
say no
based
one
on your
knows?
religion.
Did you say no one knows?
Your entire life is based
Did
on your
you say
religion,
no
which I
one
think
knows?
is a fairy tale,
That's
quite
great.
frankly.
That's great, but you haven't given an argument for the
I have actually.
the
I have
fairy tale
actually.
that you believe in, like free will.
I have actually.
What's the proof
You
of free will?
have the freedom to believe in what you want to believe in. I'm
But-
not denying you
But
that
if
freedom.
I go with Sam Harris or Daniel Dennett, maybe I'm just conditioned to think I have free will and all choices are determinist.
Again, you have.
How do you know that free will exists?
What do you mean? You have.
How do you know that it exists?
Right now-
Because you believe in
Right-
metaphysical things that you can't justify.
Okay.
You want me to justify?
So
Listen, there's the problem with saying to a theist that you have to justify it. You believe in logic, universals,
Okay.
things that you
So,
can't
Jay-
justify, like free will.
Jay,
So you're not going to answer that.
I'm going to answer it.
Do you believe in free will?
I'm going to answer it the way I want to. Okay.
Okay, it
You
has to be a
have-
good answer.
You have the freedom. Well, in your estimation. I
no,
mean,
in anybody's. That's how a debate
no,
works.
No,
Okay,
Jay,
well, if you want to use fallacies, you can
Jay,
do that.
I
Sure.
understand. I understand how a debate works, Jay. Just because you've been doing it for 25 years doesn't mean you have to be
So
condescending. to
what's
me.
free will?
I understand that there's a lot of people on the left that are very nice to you when you debate them, and you're very condescending. That doesn't work with me. So you don't have to do that.
Just asking
I've
you
been
what free
very
will is.
respectful to you considering the circumstances.
I'm just asking what free will is.
And I'm asking you to let me answer
Okay.
in the way I want to answer it respectfully. You have the free will, I'll use your terminology, to believe in what you want to believe in. You have the free will to believe in your God, your religion. I usually don't get along very well with extremely religious people.
Mhm.
I have almost nothing in common with some of these people. I think it's a mental illness. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
Now, if you form and live your life based on your religion, you have the right to do that. But nobody knows if there's heaven or hell. You
But how
don't
do you
know.
that?
You
just
don't
keep
know.
saying
You're
that.
making the case that there's a heaven or hell. I'm not making that case.
I didn't-
What I'm saying, Jay, is that there
your
might be.
argument for a
Jay,
universal claim.
Jay, I'm saying that there might be heaven or hell. I don't
No,
know.
that's not what you said.
No.
You said
Hear
no
me.
one knows. Those
Okay.
are two different claims.
I don't know. That's the way I answer.
You
it. I
said
don't
no
say-
one knows, and now you're saying I don't know. Those are two different
Nobody
claims.
knows. Nobody
so now
knows.
it's universal.
Nobody
You keep
knows
going
for
back and
sure.
forth.
Jay, there might be heaven and hell. I
So
don't
is
know.
it-
I don't
Is
know.
it I don't
And
know
neither
or
do
no?
you.
Is it I don't know or
Nobody
no one
knows. Nobody knows. Nobody can provide me direct evidence that
understand
heaven or hell
that
exists. Nobody can.
In philosophy, those are two different claims. So which one is it?
Nobody on the planet that's a human being,
Okay. How do you know that nobody
because nobody's
knows?
presented direct evidence. That's why.
That's not
Yes.
a proof that no one knows.
Yeah.
That just means that in your limited experience empirically, you've never verified that.
If
So you don't
we-
actually know if no
You-
one knows.
Okay, if you know for sure that
So
there's
you're
a-
asserting things that you don't know.
somebody would have to present clear and present evidence
But the fact that
that
they haven't
Satan exists.
but the
heaven
fact
and
that they
hell
haven't
exists.
done it yet doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you know that no one knows.
Then nobody has provided evidence, which means nobody.
So
knows
your
for sure.
argument is a bad argument
Okay,
because you
so
can't
help me
justify the
understand.
universal
So
claim.
Jay, help me understand. Then you believe that heaven and hell exist. Can you
I'm
provide
just-
me some
I'm
evidence?
waiting for you to give a good argument.
Okay, I just did.
No, you didn't.
So I'm
You
asking.
keep-
Prove me
you
wrong right now,
contradicted.
Jay. Prove me wrong right now. You're a Christian.
Mhm.
You believe that heaven and hell exists.
Mhm.
Give me direct evidence right now in your belief
Mhm.
that heaven and hell exist, please.
The argument is the impossibility of the contrary. Your worldview doesn't make sense of knowledge.
My
It
question
doesn't
wasn't
make
about
sense of
worldview.
ethics.
Hold on, Jay.
The argument
Jay,
is
Jay,
a worldview argument.
Jay, my question
The
wasn't about.
transcendental
Jay,
argument is a worldview
Jay,
argument.
My question wasn't about worldviews. I'll ask it again.
My argument is a worldview argument. So
Okay.
when you ask me the question, I'm
So
going to
from
respond with
religion.
worldview.
Based on religion. So based on your worldview,
I
what is
believe
it?
that logic is based in
Right.
religion.
Okay. So give me that logic. What is your evidence that would lead you to believe from
The
your
evidence
worldview?
is a logical argument called the transcendental argument. That is the argument.
Okay. It's just a belief. I believe in the tooth
No, it's
fairy.
not. It's a
Yeah,
logical
my
argument.
worldview tells me the tooth
It's-
fairy exists.
Well, you
It's what
believe
my
in free
religion
will,
tells
but
me.
you don't have a basis for
My
any idea
religion
what
tells
it is.
my religion
You
tells
kept
me
appealing to free will and
my
choice.
religion tells me that when I lose a tooth, I'm going to get $100
So in
underneath my
philosophy,
pillow.
if you took a philosophy class, you would learn that free will is a metaphysical position that a lot of philosophers and atheists, I'm not saying you're an atheist, but people like Daniel Dennett or Sam Harris, they don't believe in free will.
So hold on. Let's
So
start
I'm
over.
just trying to say that you're
Let's start
asserting
over.
things like free will
You
that
are-
you don't have a
okay,
basis for.
So hold on. It'll be 30 seconds here. You are making the case, in your opinion, based on your
No, I didn't argue opinion.
hold on worldview, that heaven and hell exists.
Mhm.
My opinion is I don't know.
But that's
None of
not what
us
you
do.
said.
Okay.
You said
I've
no
said
one
that-
knows, which is not
okay,
an opinion.
yeah.
That's a universal
No
claim.
one knows for sure whether heaven or
That's
hell
a
exists.
universal claim.
Okay, so Jay,
versus an opinion.
Tell
Those are
me
two
where
different
you're
things.
getting this from your worldview. Give me some evidence that heaven and hell exist.
The
You
evidence
can't.
is the logical argument called the transcendental argument.
Which
so
is-
there's not all. So evidence is not just like a physical object. There are logical arguments that are non-physical that are also evidences. That's what you're missing in what
Okay.
I'm arguing.
So again, I go back to what I said earlier, and this is my issue with religion in general. Every
But
religion.
you're a religious person, Brian.
Huh?
You're religious.
I never said I was a religious person.
No, you're rabidly religious about things like free will, which you have no basis for.
I'm not a religious person, and I don't believe in the tooth fairy, and
But
I don't
I'm
live my
make-
life based on a
but
religion.
Free will is like
I live my life based
free
on
will is the same thing
I
as the
li-
tooth
I-
fairy.
I
The
live my-
tooth fairy
Okay.
and the free will are the same.
Yeah. I live my life based on the way I was raised, the way my parents raised me,
But none of that.
and I don't hide
none of those
behind a
things are
religion.
arguments.
I don't hide
Those are
behind.
assertions.
I don't hide behind a religion attacking all gay people, which I believe that
This
is
is
an
an
attack,
emotional appeal.
or attacking. Yeah, you're right. It's emotional. Just judging entire groups of people, which it says don't to do in the Bible. You're judging.
No, what you said was an emotional.
All
appeal.
women are more emotional, or gay
These are
people are
emotional
sinners.
appeals.
No, these are judgments on large groups of people
No,
that you're
your
making.
argument right now is an emotional appeal, not the statements.
You are making judgments
Correct.
about groups of
Yeah, but there's
people
nothing
because they're
wrong
not
with that
like
in my
you.
worldview. You just don't like it.
No, I just think you hide behind your religion to,
Well, okay,
to
but-
defend your
But
bigoted.
that's not a good
bigotry.
argument. That's an ad hominem
No,
about my motives.
no, it's not. I think you
It
hide.
is.
I think people
The
like you.
fact that you think that I'm doing something for bad motives is
Yes,
a
I do.
ad hominem motive argument, which is not relevant to a
When
debate.
you judge an entire group
What's
of people,
wrong with judging people?
it's called bigotry, and you don't think
But
there's
so what?
so. There
in
you
your
go.
worldview,
there you go.
In your
There
worldview,
you
these
go.
things are all subjective
There you
anyway.
go. If it's
In
okay-
your view, it's subjective.
in your view, it's okay to be a bigot. In your view, it's okay
but
to
that's
judge
not
people.
inconsistent in my view.
No, you're right. You're consistently a bigot. That's
But
what
that's
you are.
not inconsistent in my view for a
We
debate.
could use word games.
Your position is inconsistent because you
I'm
have
very
ethical.
consistent.
No,
I'm
you're not.
very consistent.
No,
I'll
no,
explain
not at all.
once again. No, I'm extremely consistent.
Okay.
I don't judge people based on sexual
Okay.
orientation. I don't judge people based on color of skin, sexual
Right.
orientation, or gender. I would never tell somebody
No,
that doesn't
the
look like.
logic is inconsistent.
I would never tell
Not
somebody that doesn't look like me
Not
that.
that.
You belong in the kitchen. It's a
the
bigoted point of
basis
view.
for your position is what's inconsistent, not the position.
What, having a moral compass and caring about all people?
Yeah. What's the moral
Yeah,
compass?
yeah. Not telling other people what to do
Yeah,
with
but why
their
is that wrong?
lives. Because you're a bigot. You tell other people
So
what to
that's
do.
a circular argument. It's a fallacy.
You make assumptions about people because they're not like you and they don't look like you.
I know that you don't
It's
like
terrible.
that. That's great. I understand that it's not preferable.
Yeah, most
that you
people don't.
like it.
Most decent
That's
people
another
don't like that.
fallacy. That's a massive.
It's a
appeal.
fallacy.
It is
Okay,
correct.
okay.
So in logic,
So all women belong in the kitchen. All gay people are sinners. They're all bad because it's my worldview. Because I
everything-
hide behind my Christianity.
you could
I
say-
know that
again,
heaven and hell are
you haven't
real.
given a basis for why any
Yeah.
of that's wrong.
I've given a very simple basis. You
Yeah, but
judge
it's not,
people,
it's not a
Jay.
good philosophical
Jay,
argument.
I don't care whether you think it's
Well,
philosophical.
you're
or not.
judging me.
You're
You're
judging.
judging me right now.
I'm
What's-
judging you right now. You have the right to
You
think
judge
the way
that it's
you
wrong
think.
to be a bigot.
You think
You judge that it's wrong to be a bigot.
when you judge a group of people based on their
You
sexual
judge all
orientation.
Christians as bigots.
No, I don't, because not all Christians think like you.
Okay, but what's wrong with being a bigot and judging people to be
Do
a
you-
bigot when
do-
you don't have a basis for
Do
your
you
ethics?
understand that there are
You
plenty
don't
of,
have a basis
there
for your
are-
ethic.
there
It's
are-
subjective,
there are
Brian. That's
plenty
the
of-
kill
there,
shot.
no, there is no kill shot here. That's like
Your
a kill-
ethics is admittedly subjective and relativist, and then you make it universal.
No,
That's a
I'm
contradiction.
not. You are just made
You
a
did.
case
You
that
said
I'm
no
putting-
one knows.
I'm painting all Christians as this. I never said that. There are plenty of Christians.
Is
that
it
would call you a
universally
bigot as
wrong to be
well.
racist and a bigot?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do.
But your ethics is subjective and relative. That's a contradiction.
I don't think it's subjective at all. I think
You already
I think
argued
it-
for the first
I
hour
think
it's subjective and
I
relative.
think it comes down.
You argued
to,
that.
Well, you'll disagree with this, but I think it comes down
You're
to
debating
something-
yourself.
I think
Like,
no, I'm not.
You
I
said
think
your
you're
ethics was
making yourself. I think
Did
you're
you
making
not
yourself
say-
look really bad.
Did you not say your ethics was
in this
subjective?
in
You
this
said it in the first hour.
in this conversation?
You said it multiple times. The
You're
first
right.
hour, your ethics is
Not
relative and
everybody
subjective.
thinks murder is bad. Not everybody thinks rape is bad.
Your
So you're right. I guess
position
that's subjective
was
too.
admitted. Okay, thank you. So it's subjective.
So if somebody says
Then
to
it's
you,
not universally wrong.
if you said,
Then it's not universally wrong to be a
if you-
racist or bigot.
If you said to me, no, there are people out there that think racism is okay. I don't deny that. Okay, but
Universal doesn't mean are
Okay,
there people who
listen,
do otherwise.
if
It
I
means
said
the
to you,
ought.
this is
It
how
means
stupid
ought
this
from-
this is how stupid this argument is. If I said
It's
to you
not
right
stupid.
now,
It's an ought from
no,
an
I think
is.
it's stupid. If I said to you
So
right
we
now,
don't have to have a
that-
basis for
I think
ethics?
it's very stupid. If I said to you that
If we
racism,
don't have a basis
if I
for
said to you
ethics,
that
then the debate's
rape
over.
is bad, you would
I have a
probably-
basis for why it's bad. You don't.
Oh, I don't have a basis to why bigotry
Not
is
a
bad.
consistent basis. No.
Have you seen slavery? You know what that was? That bad?
What?
When people judged others based on their skin color and owned human
How is
beings?
that relevant to the ethics of rape?
First of all, I'm just giving you a general term.
You just
and
keep
I'm giving
saying
you-
things are bad because these things happened, and that doesn't get you to an ought. That's why philosophy matters. You
Okay.
need a better argument
So
or a
you're-
basis for why something's
So
wrong.
you need a better argument,
Mhm.
but yet you're the guy who says Trump won the 2020 election. You need a better argument, Jay says, but yet all women
That
should
was
be in the
just
kitchen.
a suspicion.
It's just for me, it's just a suspicion, Jay. I just have a suspicion.
Well, if you want to argue that
Yeah.
your ethics is based on suspicions,
it's
then
suspicion. Yeah,
that's
it's just-
okay.
I'll use
then
your
that's
stupid.
a bad
I'll use your
argument.
stupid defense and arguments, and I'll turn it right back on you. But the
Well,
point
I don't
being-
have to have the same
the point
justification for every
No,
position
you're
from
justifying-
politics to religion.
You're justifying all women.
So
you're just-
ethics is a
you're-
philosophy domain.
okay,
Politics
okay,
is something I
okay,
don't really
okay.
care
You
about.
Again, you're taking entire groups of people and all women.
But
They
there's
shouldn't
nothing
do this,
wrong with
this,
that.
and this. Well, yeah, I think it makes you a bigot.
There's nothing universally
I think it's
wrong.
very wrong with
That's
that.
great that you think that, but
Very
it's
wrong
not
with that.
universally wrong.
And
And
I
also,
can't-
by the way, I'm just conditioned by determinism to believe it. So what's wrong with that?
I think you hide behind your religion to hide your bigotry.
I'm
I do.
actually giving you atheist lines of argumentation. No, you're not an atheist, but I'm
atheists-
saying that
So
if
atheists think
most-
that all women belong in the kitchen.
I'm
Most
talking about
Christians don't think
determinism.
that either. By the
I'm
way,
talking about determinism and the idea that there's free will. You believe in a metaphysical fiction that you can't justify if your agnostic worldview is true, called free will.
Other than using your word games,
Would you agree that Daniel Dennett and Sam Harris believe that there's no free will, that a lot of philosophers
I haven't
believe
talked
that?
to them. I don't
Okay,
know.
but they do believe
I don't
right?
know that. I haven't talked to them. I
Okay,
don't know.
many
I have no knowledge of
philosophers do not believe in free will. They
Okay,
think it's
that's
a
fine.
metaphysical fiction.
Fine.
So it's like the tooth
Many
fairy.
bigots don't think that
It's
women
like
should be in the
tooth-
kitchen.
it's
So
like
what?
the tooth fairy. So I want to know, why should I believe in free will but not God in your view?
You can believe whatever you want.
In your view.
In my view, when you judge an entire, I've said this like 10 times.
How is that an answer to the
When you-
question I just asked you? You're not even listening to the question.
I'm listening to you, and I'm amazed.
If free will is equated to the tooth fairy in
Yes.
most modern philosophy, then I want to know, why is it free will any different than believing in God? It's a metaphysical claim.
You can. I'm not making that argument. You can believe what you want to believe.
You argue that free will
Jay,
makes me liable
Jay,
to believing and choosing
Jay,
religion
Jay,
versus gays who
Jay,
do not have a choice.
Jay,
You made the argument.
here's my argument.
You're
when
not
you take your
addressing
religion, Jay.
Your argument.
Jay, yes, I am.
No,
when
you're
you
not.
when you take your religion and you treat people differently in a
No,
negative
Brian,
way,
I'm asking you why
You're
I should
not
believe in free
listening
will.
to me.
Why do you believe in
we
free
can
will?
keep talking about free will, or you could listen to my
Well,
question.
you
which I
said
think
that's
is
what
more
makes me
prevalent and important.
liable
Jay,
for my religious
Jay,
beliefs.
Jay, just let me get this out. When you use your religion and treat people in a negative fashion because of it, okay, it's bad for society. Now, in this debate, you've talked about what you think is bad for society.
But you believe in
Okay.
tooth fairy things.
I was making a joke about that and how ridiculous.
No,
your
I'm
argument
saying
was.
that it's equated to that. It's the
okay.
flying spaghetti monster. Is
What
free,
I don't
free will
want-
is a flying
okay,
spaghetti
I
monster.
understand what you're saying, Jay, but in my society that
Why
I
should
would
I
like,
believe in free
Jay,
will, Brian?
Jay, you can believe whatever you want.
No, why should I believe in your worldview in free will?
I think if you're a decent human being, you probably should treat people with respect and dignity, regardless of whether they're
How
gay
is
or
it a
whether they're.
justification for free will?
Okay, I'm just telling you right now.
It's not a justification.
Well, I'm going to give you my justification.
Okay, but that's fine. But that's not. Okay.
I'm going to give
Well, that's
you,
not a good
I'm gonna
argument.
give you, well,
That's subjective.
in your opinion, it's not a good argument, but I think
No, in
most-
logic, if you
in-
make a subjective argument, it's not a good argument.
In your opinion, it's not a good argument.
Okay.
Okay. But in
Is
my
it your opinion that everything's opinion?
Excuse me? What?
Is it your opinion that everything is an opinion?
I don't think everything is opinion. There's fact and there's fiction that goes along with it, like Trump didn't win the 2020 election. That's a fact. That's not an opinion, Jay. That's a fact. Trump did not win in 2020. So I think you're the one who can't spell the word fact. With that being said, when you take an entire, I know you're shaking your head. I know.
Like, what
I know,
is it?
I know.
It
It's not a
doesn't even
fact.
make sense.
It's not a fact. No, it actually makes a lot of sense. The earth is not flat, Jay, and Donald Trump did not win the 2020
Did I argue
election.
there was what?
No, you were arguing that Trump, you think Trump won the 2020 election. So if you're going to talk to me about fact and
Totally
fiction,
straw man stuff that has
not a straw man,
relevance
it just-
whatsoever.
it's actually completely
I
relevant.
never argued anything about the
It's-
physics of the earth. I
it-
asked you about free will,
I
and you had
understand.
no answer as
Again,
to what that is.
Again, you're missing the entire
You
point.
believe in fairy tale things. I'm just trying to figure out
What do I believe in
why
that's
you believe
fairy
in those
tale,
things.
Jay? What
Free
do I
will.
believe? What do I believe that's fairy tale?
Free will.
Tell me what you think free will is, Jay. Give me
Well,
your
I
definition.
believe that we're made in God's image, and we have the ability to choose things freely,
Mhm.
morally good or evil, or this thing or that thing. That's what free will is. Now,
I-
I'm just trying to figure out, if you don't believe in fairy tale things like God, why is free will any different than a thing like God?
I never said I don't believe in God. What I said was
But you
we
said,
don't
I don't
know
know if
for
there is
sure.
one. We don't know what it is.
I don't know whether there's a God.
But
or
you
not.
said my belief is what you said. What?
I never said that there's no God.
But then you said my position was fairy tale.
Well, what I'm saying is when you make cases and you talk about
one is that?
homosexuality and listen to me. When you
Well,
make
those are mutually exclusive claims.
when you make generalizations about people
Well, there's no
that are
wrong with
bigoted positions, well, I think there's something wrong
that.
with
Well, that's great, but you haven't given a moral basis for why it's universally wrong.
Are we not all created as equals, or is that not?
No.
We're not all created as equals.
I mean, am I equal to Kobe Bryant when it comes to physical abilities?
That's athletic ability.
Well, that would have to do with creation of our worldview.
Okay. Well, I thought we were all created as equals, but maybe
we're
I'm wrong
equal
on
before law, but not in physical abilities. We don't have all the same IQ.
Again, going back to what we said earlier.
Let's wrap this up.
Are we coming to the
final
end?
points? Final points.
What's the matter, Jim?
We're at 2 hours.
No, it's just going in.
We're at 2 hours 20.
We
so
are
yeah,
going a
let's-
little.
let's wrap it up.
We are going a little bit in circles. I would agree with you.
Closing
there.
statement, Brian, and then I'll let Jay close off.
Sure. I'm glad we agree on the Epstein files. I think that's extremely important. Obviously, I would never vote for the orange turd. I disagree with you on. You haven't given me really any reasons why, other than you thought Donald Trump, what he did, what he said he was going to do here, and here, and obviously he didn't do a lot of those things, which clearly you're frustrated on. You didn't really give me many reasons other than Kamala Harris is a woman, and clearly you don't want to vote for women.
So that was a
in
funny
general.
one to pick.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't really give me any reasons for that. The reason why I'm not an extremely religious person is because of this conversation today. I believe, especially in Christianity, people make judgments on other people based on their religion because people don't look like them, or they don't have the sexuality that they have, or they're a woman. I also don't like the fact that women and men are separated in synagogue. I don't like that either. I don't like it in any religion. That's why I'm not an extremely religious person. It comes down to me wanting to just treat people the same and with respect, regardless of what religion they are. I don't like to judge people, even if you're wearing a MAGA hat. Okay. I'm not going to immediately assume that you're a racist or atrocious human being. And I think it's important in society. If you want to talk about society falling, I'm less concerned about immigrants in this country, documented or not, and more concerned about people that judge other people or people that are so upset. And I would assume you were one of them that was so upset at what Don Lemon did going into that church and disrupting a church service. Well, okay. I don't condone people protesting on private property. I think that's wrong. It's against the law. But I find ICE agents murdering people in the streets a little bit more upsetting. We need to have the separation between church and state, which clearly we don't have in Washington, D.C. right now. And I think the people that want the 10 commandments in classrooms are people that don't abide by the 10 commandments themselves. They break those commandments themselves. Hence the word hypocrite. I did not come here to change your mind or try to convince you on anything. I understand that's your objective when you go to debates. I came here to give you my opinions, my views on a number of different issues. Some we agree on, obviously a lot we disagree on. I think we've stopped listening to other people. This is why I do enjoy doing these kinds of things. But I think as a whole, we stop listening to other people that look differently than you and me, people that have different pathways in life. People that have, been brought up differently in different cultures, different backgrounds. I'd like to think as a whole, most human beings are good people. And then when we have issues and bad things that happen, like 9/11 and other issues, that the country comes together, even if it's only a week. But this is what I do. And this is what I preach. And I'm not trying to change people's opinions. People can have their own opinions and judgments about this debate. If you're a fan of Jay Dyer, they're going to agree with you. If they're a fan of my show, they're going to agree with me. That's why I don't really care about that stuff. Other people do. It's just not me. I'm glad, like I said, in closing, land my plane. Sorry. I'm glad we agree on the Epstein files. I'm glad we agree on some of the Trump stuff. That's refreshing. Obviously, we disagree a little bit on religion, but here's the difference. Like, I would never tell you what to do. I would never tell you what to believe. I would never tell you that you can't think of something, even though I might hate the way you think, even though I might hate your opinions on certain things. I would never say, Jay, you are not allowed to think like that. Even though I hate the fact that you think women should be in the kitchen, I would say, you know what? We have something called freedom of speech in this country. And if women, you're clearly a married man, clearly it's working out well for you, I would assume, which is great. But, I would never tell you that you can't think that way. I think that's fundamentally very important. So anyway, thanks, Jay, for for doing this. I hope
was
it
a
wasn't
lively
too.
discussion.
I hope it
enjoyed
wasn't too torturous for you, and I don't think you're a bad guy.
No,
and-
it was a civil,
Yeah.
lively discussion.
Yep.
I enjoyed it.
Go ahead. take
Yeah,
the floor.
closing statement.
I'll shut up.
I would just say, yeah, I appreciate Brian coming. It was a great discussion. Thank you, Sean, for this opportunity. It was good. Yeah, I feel like there was common ground with the Epstein stuff, with criticisms of Trump's turn, war in Iran, all that was good. I would just again stress that when it comes to debate, my take on debate is that it's more like a chess game, not in the sense of it being frivolous or a game, but that it has rules and it has boundaries and it has limitations that define it being chess and not checkers or some other game. So when we come to debate, we have to be able to abide by the rules, and those are the laws of logic, which are essentially the laws of critical thinking. The laws of logic dictate debate because that's how we know when somebody's not playing chess anymore and they're doing something else. So we have to play by the rules. I think that Brian didn't play by the rules for most of the debate when it came to the issues of justifying the morals, or when it came to the issues of, say, free will being a metaphysical claim, which, again, to me is no different than the type of claim that God's existence is. So that's when it gets into the domain of philosophy. So, again, I'm not used to political debates. This is probably, I think, my first politics debate. So again, glad for Brian to be here.
It
It's
is,
almost
really?
always, I think so. I can't
Wow.
think of another one. I've done a lot of,
Yeah, he's done a lot of.
we've done
debates.
Islam, atheism, but I don't think I've debated politics until now. But
Can you do me a favor? Tell
What?
Alex I said hello.
okay. Anyway, Jay Dyer, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, all those.
Yeah, check
outlets.
them out, guys. We'll link everything below. Comment below who you want to see next. See y'all next time. Peace. Oh shit! Good job, guys.
How long was that? 2 hours?
2 hours and a half.
Holy shit.
That was my longest debate.